could not ask for better weather conditions than we have here at FedEx Field here in Landover, Maryland, as the surprising Chicago Bears, who wrapped up a playoff berth last week, take on the Washington Redskins, who still harbor slim postseason hopes themselves. And season's greetings to you all. I'm Dick Stockton, along with Troy Aikman and Daryl Johnston. And Moose, despite the fact that the Bears wrapped up a playoff berth last week, they cannot let up at all because they know that their prospects are high and low as far as what could happen the rest of the way.
And that was head coach Dick Duran's biggest challenge this week, was keeping his team focused on finishing the season, because their playoff can go anywhere from having a first-round bye and a home field game to going on the road wild card weekend. So it's very important for them to run the table on the way out. And to do that, it all starts with the running game for the Chicago Bears, and Anthony Thomas is the key. Last week versus Tampa Bay, they used a lot of two tight end sets and just pounded the ball at the Buccaneers defense. Today, look for them to get into some nickel formations and use their wide receivers in the running game as an advantage, blocking the smaller corners for the Washington Redskins.
And the Redskins are going to miss their middle linebacker, Kevin Mitchell, who was out with injury, and he is their leading tackler. And Troy, the Redskins season, let's face it, is on the line today. What must they do to upset the Chicago Bears?
Well, the first thing that they have to do is what they have to do every week. They got to be able to run Stephen Davis, and when they've had their most success, it's been because they've been able to do just that. It's also no secret that the best part of this Bears defense is stopping the run, so something is going to have to give today. If the Redskins are unable to run the football, you can look for them to try to go to a no-huddle situation in normal downs, normal first and second downs, and that does one of a couple things. One, it allows the Redskins to dictate the game offensively and dictate the tempo. On the other hand, it also allows them to keep the Bears from substituting, and they keeps Keith Traylor and Ted Washington, the two big defensive tackles, out there on the field, which definitely plays into the Washington Redskins' advantage.
All right, so two solid defensive teams, the Bears especially, and we have two brilliant second-year linebackers, LeVar Arrington of the Redskins and Brian Erlacher of the Chicago Bears.
Welcomes you to the following presentation of the National Football League.
Welcome back to FedEx Field here in Landover, and this game is being seen around the world on the Armed Forces Network, and we at Fox Sports would like to extend our sincerest thanks to America's fighting men and women across the globe during this holiday season. The Chicago Bears have won the toss, and Brett Conway will kick off for the Redskins, who are 6-7 coming in. They have the longest current win streak against the Chicago Bears. They have won 6 in a row. Autry Denson is the deep man for the Bears. And this game is underway, and the kick is short, end over end, and on the run. Autry Denson returning for the Bears. Fumbles, and the Redskins seem to have it. The Redskins recover. So an inauspicious start for the Chicago Bears, who come in with a one-game lead over the Green Bay Packers in the NFC Central.
Well, this is the one thing that the Chicago Bears cannot afford to do. They cannot give up a short field. It looks like Autry Denson just dropped the ball. You can see Dante Curry, number 57, there being blocked. Looked like he got a hand in possibly, but I think Autry Denson just dropped that ball.
And Darius Thompson recovers it for the Redskins.
That's exactly what it looked like, Moose, that Autry Denson just dropped the ball, and with the short kick, they were going to get great field position to start this ball game.
And you wonder why Leon Johnson, who normally returns the kicks, was not back there. So the Redskins will start on the Bears' 32-yard line to try to take advantage of that miscue, and Stephen Davis gets about 4 yards on the play. Ted Washington in on the tackle. Davis, the leading rusher in the NFC, coming in with over 1,100 yards. Tony Banks, last week, 2 interceptions. Both were killers to the Redskins in the red zone against the Eagles. So the Redskins have dropped 2 out of 3 at home. Here is Davis again, and he is knocked back. And a fine play is made by Roosevelt Colvin, the linebacker. The Redskins offensive line, and outstanding tackles in Chris Samuels and John Jansen, with Zott, Raymer, and Coleman in the middle. The weapon, of course, is Stephen Davis. The rookie Rod Gardner and Michael Westbrook are the wide receivers, and Walter Rasby at tight end. Redskins missing David Alexander, out with a broken bone for the rest of the year, and he was quite a weapon. And the two massive tackles are out right now. Traylor in Washington on 3rd and 7. Out of the shotgun, Tony Banks, and Banks loses the ball. And the Bears get it back. And it was Roosevelt Colvin had knocked the ball away from Tony Banks, and Philip Daniels recovers for the Chicago Bears, who breathe a sigh of relief and get the ball back.
Well, and that's something that this defense has been doing all year long. They're very opportunistic in the way that they play. And Tony Banks has got to be more careful with the football. He steps up, as you mentioned, Roosevelt Colvin with the hit, which knocks it loose, and Philip Daniels there to make the recovery. But when Tony Banks gets in a crowd, he has got to be able to secure the football, and that's an area that hurt them last week, and they were unable to take advantage of good field position in the game last week.
So those are Tony Banks' fumble statistics, and the pass out on the flat to Marty Booker, and the Bears wide receiver will have enough for a first down. Booker coming in as the leading receiver for the Chicago Bears, and of course one of their big strengths is that offensive line with Rockermeyer and Tucker, who've been banged up. Olin Kreutz at center with Chris Valerial and the big cat James Williams at right tackle. Anthony Thomas, the leading rookie rusher in the NFC. Booker and Des White, the receivers, and Fred Baxter, who had a big game last week at tight end.
And they're in their 3-wide package right now.
And the handoff is to Thomas, going off the right side, and a good gain. Anthony Thomas picking up nearly 7 yards before Marco Coleman brings him down. Let's check out the Redskins defensively. Veteran Bruce Smith, Kennard Lang, Dan Wilkinson, and Marco Coleman up front. Antonio Pierce, the rookie, getting a start at wide at the weak side linebacker. Robert Jones moving over to the middle with Kevin Mitchell out, and Fred Smoot and Champ Bailey the corners. David Terrell and Sam Shade at safety. 2nd down and 4 in Redskin territory. Play action, and the pass is caught by Damon Shelton, and the Bears fullback holds on and makes the catch before going out of bounds.
Yeah, and they put the ball on again. Nobody seems to be able to hang on to the football today, but the play before that, what we saw was that they came into a 3-wide package. And one of the reasons that they're doing that is that the Bears feel that if they can go to the 3-wide, what that does is the Washington Redskins match them with their personnel. So it brings in Washington Redskins nickel back, meaning they've got 5 defensive backs, and you notice that they run the football. That's an area that they want to do. Bring in nickel people and run the ball.
And that means Daryl Green, the 41-year-old, who is coming back next year for a 20th season. Here is Thomas trying to find running room, and he does around the left side and goes out of bounds. And it looks like that muff on the opening kickoff woke up the Chicago Bears. That was a 13-yard pickup.
Well, they're going to exactly what Troy taught. Here's your 2 linebackers right here. They take Robert Jones out of the game. They're going to run the ball with their 3 receivers. And you'll see as he goes outside right there, Marty Booker on Champ Bailey. That is the matchup that they're looking for on the perimeter in the running game, these big wide receivers against the smaller corners.
And the thing you're going to see all day from Marty Booker is that he does everything. Probably the most complete receiver in the National Football League. He's their deep threat, their possession receiver, as well as their blocker in the running game.
2 tight ends for the Bears. First down at the 25. And here's the wide receiver screen to Des White. And White, who is 2nd in receiving but has yet to score a touchdown this year, picks up 5, chased out of bounds by the rookie Fred Smoot.
Well, here's to illustrate the last point. Marty Booker, he's lining up in the slot here, and he's going out and blocking as they run this wide receiver screen to Des White, and that's something that Marty Booker takes tremendous pride in, not only as a catch receiver, but he takes tremendous pride in being able to get out there and make blocks in the running game.
Big receivers, good blockers for the Bears. 2nd and 5, Jim Miller, the quarterback, and he'll go to Anthony Thomas again. But this time the Redskins come up, led by LeVar Arrington, and a loss of 1 on the play.
And you talk about LeVar Arrington and the year that he's having, he has been tremendous. You know, he talked about last year, how last year he would just as soon forget. It was a nightmare season for him. He's a young guy, was just getting acclimated to what was expected of him in the National Football League, learning a new defense, the tempo and the speed of the game. And this year the light has come on, and he's played exceptional all year long.
3rd down and 6 from the 21. Jim Miller finds Marty Booker, but he can't hold on. Booker had a step on Champ Bailey, but he could not hold on to the pass. Otherwise, he might have gone in, and that will bring up 4th down, and the field goal team is on.
Yeah, it's a real staple of the Chicago Bears offense, running the drag route and trying to stretch the defense with him. And LeVar Arrington, number 56, doesn't blitz a lot, but he's able to come over Olin Kreutz and get pressure and run him right back into Jim Miller.
So Paul Edinger will attempt a 39-yard field goal. He was 2 for 2 last week against the Buccaneers. And Edinger's kick is good. So the Bears take advantage of the turnover, the fumble by Banks, and take a 3-0 lead over the Redskins.
NFL Sunday is brought to you by Southwest Airlines, proud sponsor of the NFL and official airline of Super Bowl 36.
Chicago Bears jumping in front of the Redskins 3-0 on Paul Edinger's 39-yard field goal. Autry Denson fumbling the opening kickoff, and then Tony Banks coughing it up, and the Bears taking advantage. 8 plays, 45 yards for the score. There is Kajana Carter, who's back deep, along with Michael Bates, and Bates from the 14-yard line on the return. Michael Bates with a good return and goes out of bounds. So the Redskins will have solid field position on the 29-yard return by Bates on the kickoff. Even if the Bears win today, they would not wrap up the division race, and should the Redskins lose today, they would not necessarily be eliminated from the playoffs. The only way they would is if they lose and the Buccaneers beat the Saints.
Yeah, watch Eric Metcalf. He's in the game right here along with Stephen Davis. That's him going in motion.
From the 43-yard line, and the pass going to Metcalf. And Metcalf meets a bunch of white jerseys, and maybe a yard and a half on the play. Brian Robinson, rewarded recently with a new contract, making the tackle. And the hurry up.
And they're going to the no-huddle offense that we talked about, and Eric Metcalf and Stephen Davis in the game. That was one of the things they wanted to get to because they felt they could dictate the tempo of this game.
2nd down and 9, and here is Banks. And in and out of the hands of Eric Metcalf, and that'll bring up 3rd down. So they've gone to the no-huddle and twice to Metcalf. But let's take a look at the Bears defense, and of course those big tackles in the middle, Keith Traylor and Ted Washington, the key to their defensive unit. And outstanding linebackers in Holdman, Brian Erlacher, and Roosevelt Colvin. And in the secondary, R.W. McQuarters and Walt Harris, the corners, Mike Brown and Tony Parrish at safety. Kajana Carter is now the tailback on 3rd and 9 for Washington. And the pitch going to Carter, and Carter looking for an opening, gets the 1st down. Kajana Carter to the 46 of the Bears with Parrish on the tackle. And right now, for a game break, let's check in with James Brown.
Hey, Dick, in the battle for the last playoff spot in the NFC, Saints and Bucks. It's the Bucks on top early. Brad Johnson hooking up with Carl Williams, 14 yards for the score on the next play. Rondé Barber picks off Aaron Brooks, returns it to the 12, and Alstott goes across as a result of that for a 1-yard score. The Bucks have scored more touchdowns in the first quarter here than they have all season long in the first quarter. Back to Dick, Troy, and Daryl.
All right, coming out primed in this crucial game are the Buccaneers. Meanwhile, Stephen Davis in the backfield, 1st down at the 46, and this pass is low, and it's ruled a catch to Michael Westbrook, and good for about 7 yards on 1st down.
You know, we talked about when they went to the no-huddle offense, and to explain that in a little bit further detail as to why they do that. They bring in Steven Alexander along with Eric Metcalf, and that keeps the Bears in their standard defense. And normally, when you want to start throwing the ball against the Bears will substitute Keith Traylor and Ted Washington with more of their rush defensive tackles, and that's the matchups that the Redskins have been looking for.
On 2nd and 3, Stephen Davis changes direction, and he gets enough yardage for the first down to the Chicago 35. Ryan Robinson and Tony Parrish in on the play. 8.5 minutes to go in the first quarter. The Bears up 3-0.
Unfortunately, they weren't very successful. That the 2 plays that they stayed in the no-huddle offense, and Kajana Carter with a big run on 3rd down to move the chains. Now they've gotten back into their normal offense, and you know, I think it's difficult when you try and do something new. If it's something you're not real familiar with, I don't think you're going to execute it that well.
Tony Banks has been with 4 teams in 5 years with a first down at the 35 and a play action and plenty of time. Can't find a receiver and is passed down the middle and no one home.
Well, he had a guy sitting right in the middle of the field, right between the hashes, and that was Kevin Lockett. And this is one of their play-action passes. Watch Lockett. This is a 2-man route with full cell in the run game. You don't get any more open than that right there. And Tony Banks has got to be able to find that. He's got to be able to read the coverage and know where to go with the football.
Yeah, Tony Banks looked like he was completely confused on that play. He also had Rod Gardner working up the sideline.
Therefore, it's 2nd down.
And didn't look like he knew where either one of his receivers were going to be.
It'll be 2nd down and 10. Speaking about the number 83 Lockett, David Terrell of the Bears with a sprained knee. He should return. Meanwhile, 2nd and 10 on the 35. And here is Stephen Davis. Stephen Davis to the 25 and may have enough for the first down. Mike Brown brings down Davis. And Dave Zott said up front, the best running back I ever had to block for.
Well, Stephen Davis is a big, powerful guy, and you look at what these guys up front do. John Jansen and Walter Rasby, they're sealing off the edge and giving Stephen Davis an area to run the football, and you can't bring him down with arm tackles like that. You've got to hit him up high, otherwise he's going to break tackles all day.
Just short of the first down by less than a yard. 3rd and 1. And Davis tackled, may have enough, however. Warwick Holdman grabbed a hold of him, but Stephen Davis appears to have sufficient yardage for another Redskin first down, and it is.
What we're seeing right now is the Washington Redskins running on the perimeter of this Chicago Bears defense, and talking to Mike Brown, he thinks that that's the wrong way to approach it because of the speed of the linebackers. You saw Warwick Holdman right there, but up until that point, they have done a good job of sealing the corner and getting one of their guys through to get to Brian Erlacher.
And there's David Terrell, as we mentioned, with a sprained knee, should get back. First down at the 24. Eric Metcalf is back in the game for the Redskins. Here is Banks, and up the middle to Davis. Davis was wide open, and the Redskins may be close to another first down. Mike Green, the nickelback, on the stop for the Bears. So the Redskins, who had good field position on this drive, looking smart, and they are appearing just shy of the first down. 10th play of the drive coming up. It'll be 2nd and less than 1. Davis, first down to the 9. Parrish and Holdman, and he has been an express train, and Donnell Bennett with a big block on that play.
And it's something Moose certainly knows a lot about. And those running backs, it's amazing how much more confidence they run with when they've got a fullback out in front of them who's leading the way. You watch here, Donnell Bennett blocking Walt Harris, knocking him out there and creating the lane for Stephen Davis to get up inside.
So Bennett goes out. He had an ankle injury. Played a little last week against the Eagles. First and goal at the 9 for the Redskins. And here is Stephen Davis. Davis inside the 5, gets to about the 3. Brian Erlacher and Mike Brown, after after a 6-yard pickup.
A nice adjustment by Dave Zott as he pulled out to lead that play. And there's a technique on the outside. You'll either wrong shoulder that, which means you want to force everything up and around to the outside, or you can box it, force everything back to the inside. A nice adjustment by Dave Zott to pin the defensive end inside and allow that play to get out and around the corner.
Dave Zott, who played at Kansas City under Marty Schottenheimer, the Redskins head coach. 2nd down and goal at the 3. And again they go to Davis, who walked in for the touchdown. A very efficient drive by the Washington Redskins, who started with great field position on Bates's kickoff return, and Stephen Davis did most of the work.
Yeah, we talked about it coming in, that the Redskins are going to want to run the football with Stephen Davis. John Jansen and Walter Rasby, they collapsed the defensive front and gave Stephen Davis just a walk-in into the end zone.
And Dave Zott again out in front, kicking out Brian Erlacher to allow Stephen Davis to get inside. Right now, this Washington Redskins offensive line is doing a good job of blocking this Bears defensive front.
And not many people have been able to run effectively against them. We know the Green Bay Packers did twice. Thus, they won those 2 games against the Bears.
They converted a 3rd and 9 on that drive with a running play. So Chicago needs to make some adjustments on the sideline.
Brett Conway for the extra point as the Redskins take the lead. Extra point is perfect, and the Washington Redskins take a 7-3 lead thanks to Stephen Davis, who gained 30 yards on the drive and scores his 3rd touchdown pass. Stephen Davis, as you look at the scoring drive, and he showed no effects of the bruised knee, which sidelined him for a good deal of the practice this week. So the Redskins lead the Bears 7-3. Bears defense on the field getting a breather. Autry Denson, who fumbled the first kickoff today, is back deep. And they got Leon Johnson about 10 yards in front of him. Brett Conway kicking off for the Redskins with 4:39 remaining in the first quarter. David Terrell, who suffered that sprained knee, apparently all right and getting set to come into the game. And they're holding for the kickoff as Conway sends it a little deeper this time. Autry Denson from the 1-yard line. Fumbled the last time, and Denson holds on as he stumbles forward to the 27-yard line. Timeout, 7-3, the Redskins in front.
Fox NFL Sunday is brought to you by Energizer. Do you have the bunny inside? By Beechwood Aged Budweiser, with the crisp, clean, and refreshing taste known only to the king of beers. By Toyota, get the feeling. And by IBM, taking e-business and your business to the next level.
Let's bring up to date on next week, the NFL on Fox. The San Francisco 49ers, a gutty win over the Eagles yesterday with Jeff Garcia ailing, take on the Dallas Cowboys. Pre-game show begins at 12 Eastern, 9 Pacific. And the Giants against the Eagles. The Eagles losing yesterday, and the Giants losing to Seattle 7-0. If the Giants lose today, the Eagles will clinch the NFC East crown. Bears 1st and 10 from the 27. Play action, Jim Miller looking for a target, and the pass is caught by Marty Booker. And a 1st down, gaining 12 on the play.
Well, that's just a nice execution right there. And one of the things that the Bears did last week was that they came out throwing the football early in the game, and it really helped them be able to run the ball in the second half. You see them right here. They're going to a no-huddle situation.
On 1st down from the 39, underneath, it's Marty Booker again. And Booker picking up 5 yards. Daryl Green, the nickel back, on the stop. And we saw the Redskins with the no-huddle, and now the Bears are giving it to them.
That's right. The Redskins go to a no-huddle. Now the Bears are going to match them with a no-huddle. You take a look at last week, 4 runs and 14 passes out of the first 18 plays.
And Miller completes to Des White. And his forward progress up to the 44, LeVar Arrington. And the net result will be a no gain for the Bears, bringing up 3rd down.
That's going to be one of the things that's going to stymie this Bear offense in their short passing game today is the speed and the athleticism of these linebackers. When they go to the multiple wide receiver sets, they're going to have Antonio Pierce and LeVar Arrington in there as linebackers, and you might as well just have a couple other safeties on the field because they are so fast and cover so much ground. You're not going to have a lot of success running these shallow routes.
3rd down and 5 on the Bears 44. And Jim Miller wants the timeout. Keep in mind that the Redskins playing without Kevin Mitchell, their middle linebacker, who is out with a sprained ankle. Marty Schottenheimer, whose Redskins hung in there after going 0-5 to start the year, winning their next 5 for the first time in history. That's happened, but they have dropped 2 of their last 3 here at FedEx Field, but lead against the Bears, who have a 3rd down and 5 on their 44.
This is going to be a good matchup right here. Blake Brockemeyer against Bruce Smith.
Leon Johnson in motion. And now going that way as well is Marty Booker. A short drop, and the pass knocked down, incomplete, bringing up 4th down, and it was LeVar Arrington on the coverage against Marty Booker.
Well, neither one of these offenses are really exotic, so the thing that's going to be important are the fundamentals in the game of football, and that's blocking and tackling. And you'll see right there, Marty Booker on a short route. LeVar Arrington, we talked about it. He covers ground. He's very athletic, breaks on the ball, makes the hit, knocks it away. You're not going to get tricked offensively today, so if you play good coverage and make tackles, you got a good chance of slowing these offenses down or stopping it.
Brad Maynard's kick, and Eric Metcalf will let it bounce at the 9, but the Bears surround it. And the Chicagoans will down it at about the 5-yard line. And a flag is down upfield. And the preliminary signal is that it will go against the Redskins. Ed Hockley, the referee, with 3 minutes to go in the first quarter.
Now you talk about the punting of Brad Maynard and how he's been able to pin people back, and he's been doing that all year long. And there are a number of players on this team that feel that if they were to pick an MVP of the Chicago Bears team, that he would receive votes. And he's a big weapon for this team. And a lot of people around the league think he's been the biggest difference. Not Ted Washington, not Keith Traylor, but Brad Maynard as a punter.
Was punted, holding at the line of scrimmage. Washington, number 20. That's a half the distance to the goal, foul enforced from the end of the kick. Washington keeps the ball, 1st down.
So it'll be on Michael Bates and half the distance. And you're right about Brad Maynard. Not only does his coach think he's the MVP of the team, but another NFC Central general manager says Brad Maynard is a key reason the way they play with ball control and field position.
Well, there's no question. And the thing that is that the Chicago Bear defense, teams are not going to go 80, 85 yards, 90 yards, in this situation 98 yards, and get points and get touchdowns. And so it really, he's like a 12th man, so to speak, for this defensive unit, and him being able to pin these offenses down inside the 20-yard line consistently week after week.
That was a 51-yard kick to boot. 1st and 10 at the 3 for the Redskins. And it's going to be play action from the end zone. Banks going out to Gardner. And the rookie almost makes a sensational leaping grab.
Well, Rod Gardner, he wasn't able to make the catch there, but it looked like he was using his arm to get some leverage. You take a look here, him working against R.W. McQuarters. He's going to run a corner route. Right there is where Gardner gets the hand out to allow him to get a little more separation away from R.W. McQuarters.
And the good thing that Rod Gardner did right there, he ran all the way through that route, and then right at the very end left his feet. You see a lot of guys looking back, and they jump too early. That was a great effort by Rod Gardner.
2nd and 10. Walter Rasby, the tight end, in motion. They'll give it to Stephen Davis, and Davis diving to the 7-yard line. And now for a game break. Again, let's check in with James Brown. JB.
Hey, Dick, take a look at another tight end in motion. This one, the backup tight end, Matt Cushing, hooking up with Cordell Stewart. It is now 14-7 Pittsburgh, looking for their first-round bye with the victory. And then Kurt Warner hooking up with Ricky Prohl. It is all knotted at 7. That in the second quarter play. Rams looking to go undefeated on the road. Back to Dick, Troy, and Daryl.
Thank you, JB. So both the Steelers and Rams looking to have the best record in their respective conferences. Redskins, 3rd down and 6. And the handoff is to Kajana Carter. And Carter getting to the 10-yard line. So that will bring up 4th down. Philip Daniels making the stop. So, guys, now the Bears are looking at possible ideal field position.
Well, it's like Troy said, with Brad Maynard pinning somebody back down, the defense is able to hold him to 3 and out, and now all of a sudden you're going to get the good field position right back, and you know, that's what this game will be about. That's why those turnovers early on were very critical for either side of this of the football teams.
Brian Barker with a beauty sends Leon Johnson back inside the 35. Johnson goes to work, spins his way, and is tackled at the 45-yard line by Ifeanyi Olalete. Well, coming soon, it's year 2 of NASCAR on Fox. Tune in for all the fast-paced racing action, and it all begins the weekend of February 24th when the 2002 NASCAR season kicks off in Rockingham. NASCAR 2002, only on Fox. Jim Miller, who is starting his 7th consecutive game. That's the first time in his career.
Yeah, and how about the year that he's had? He came into training camp. He was going to be the backup, and he's really a well-journeyed guy. He thought he was going to be a starter in Pittsburgh a few years ago, and he's been able to engage himself as a starter, and real happy for the success that he's had and the way he's battled through things.
And the fake end around and the handoff to Anthony Thomas. And Thomas getting about 6.5 yards on 1st down.
Champ Bailey, a guy that everybody considers to be a great cover corner in the NFL. But you see right here, he's also not afraid to come in, put his head down on Anthony Thomas, takes him right up and over off of his feet. So I really feel that Champ Bailey, the #1 corner in the NFL right now, and you saw there in run support, but obviously on the outside, his greatest strength. He'll match up with the biggest playmaker on the offensive side of the ball and take him out of the football game.
On 2nd and 4, nothing doing. Anthony Thomas running right into the line. No gain on the plays. Redskins with a long drive, taking the lead on Stephen Davis's touchdown from 3 yards out after the Bears got a field goal following a Washington turnover. That's been the story. And the ball control pretty close to being even, as is the yardage and the number of plays.
Yeah, and Anthony Thomas, you know, he was struggling a little bit there for about 3 to 4 weeks and had himself a breakout game last week against Tampa Bay, going for 173 yards.
3rd down and 3. 3 wide receivers for Jim Miller. And Miller with his pass, and it's caught by Marty Booker. Coming into the game as the 4th leading receiver in the NFC, gets 10 yards and a 1st down pushed out by Champ Bailey.
You take a look at the route. They had 2 guys in a pretty close proximity. Here you go, Marty Booker, as he's going to be working against Champ Bailey, and he runs the out route. And just a couple yards there of room, but he was able to fit it in there. And Marty Booker is the guy who's going to be getting the ball to most of the afternoon.
So the Bears on the move as the 1st quarter ends with the score: the Redskins 7 and the Bears 3. And Fox NFL Sunday will continue after these messages. Well, the big question here in Washington is, are the Bears for real, and does a Bear sit in the woods? Well, he doesn't, but he sits here at FedEx Field with the fans as we start the 2nd quarter. Dick Stockton along with Troy Aikman, Moose Johnston, and Pam Oliver as the Bears begin from the Redskin 37-yard line, and penalty flags fly.
Little flinch there by Chris Valerio.
At least that's what Big Daddy Wilkinson's saying.
See what Ed Hockley says.
Encroachment.
No.
Defense, number 95. 5-yard penalty. It's still 1st down.
Well, it is Dan Wilkinson, who had an interception last week and had one against the Bears the last time these teams played. As you look at the Bears offensive leaders, Jim Miller with good accuracy, 7 of 9 thus far. Anthony Thomas averaging 5 yards a carry, and Marty Booker already with 4 catches. So 1st down and 5 now at the 32. Leon Johnson is the tailback for the Bears. And on the pitch, Leon Johnson finding a hole. And look at the movement. Leon Johnson trying to be chased down and will score. Touchdown, Chicago. So Johnson, the former Jet who sat out all of last year with a knee injury, signed by the Bears and paying dividends, 32 yards.
Well, are they going to run the ball? Look at the stances by Chris Valerio and Big Cat Williams. But watch James as he turns the corner with LeVar Arrington. There's the block. He takes the brunt of it, but that opens up a huge hole for Leon Johnson to cut back into. And again, that was a 4 wide receiver set. Marty Booker and Des White come down from the outside, seal everybody off, and then they've got those big linemen pulling on the perimeter.
Leon Johnson with his second touchdown of the year. Paul Edinger adds the extra point. And so the Bears regain the lead by a score of 10-7. Again, they were helped by good field position themselves. Leon Johnson going 32 yards. It's 10-7 Chicago.
Fox NFL Sunday is brought to you by Miller High Life. To live simply, proudly, boldly, manly. This is the High Life. By Visa, it's everywhere NFL fans want to be. By Volkswagen, on the road of life, there are passengers and there are drivers. And by UPS, the official delivery company of football fans everywhere.
8 seconds into the second quarter, the Bears regain the lead 10-7. Paul Edinger will kick off for Chicago, a very short end-over-end kick. And it's fielded by Kajana Carter. And Carter will bring it to the 34-yard line. The offensive line getting the job done, especially on that last touchdown, and it's sparked by the right tackle, Big Cat Williams. We'll be right back. Big Cat Williams and the Bears last week gaining the most yardage on the ground that they did all year, 207 yards against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to win the playoff berth in the NFC. Now the Redskins try to answer from the 34-yard line. Tony Banks, the quarterback. Play action on first down, and crossing is Brian Johnson, the fullback, and a first down for the Redskins close to midfield. Parrish and McQuarters.
We'll go back and take a look at the block. You'll see the receivers come down and seal here. Big Cat goes out and around. Dwayne Bates coming across to seal. But watch the cutback by Leon Johnson. There's the kick out right there. Now he's going to come. Watch all these guys over pursue and him find that cutback lane. That's great vision out in the open field by Leon Johnson.
Suffered a knee injury in the opening game for the Jets 2 years ago, so actually has been out for 2 years, but good reason to smile with his third touchdown of the year. That was a 15-yard play, and there is the fake end around, and there is the pass to Westbrook, diving forward but not letting go is Walt Harris, and a pickup of 2 yards. In time for another game break. Let's again check in with James Brown.
Hey, Dick, as we mentioned, Pittsburgh trying to clinch a first-round bye. Cordell Stewart play action. Nobody's there. He runs it in himself. 2 yards for the score. The point after by Chris Brown is no good, but Steelers up by 13 back in the second. Dick, Troy, and Daryl.
Thank you, JB. I don't know if anyone's playing better in the NFL right now than the Steelers. 2nd and 8 in Bears territory. Here's Stephen Davis off the right side with a head of steam, and he has upended an outstanding tackle by Walt Harris and Brian Erlacher, preventing Davis from getting the first down.
Well, the one thing Erlacher can do is he can definitely run sideline to sideline, and you're rarely going to get outside of him. You watch him there. He's able to get over there and make the tackle on the play, him along with Walt Harris. And the biggest thing that has helped him this year has been the presence of Ted Washington and Keith Traylor, because what those two have been able to do, they've been able to keep blockers off of him, which has allowed him to roam free, as we just saw.
Davis comes out. Kajana Carter back in on 3rd and 3. And Banks with a long drop, and the pass caught by Rod Gardner, and the rookie from Clemson with another Washington first down at the 37-yard line of the Bears.
And a little bit of a pick play there with Rod Gardner coming across, and you take a look, he's going to be the one in motion. He's working, but if you watch here, he has to circle over the top, which present just enough space for the ball to be thrown and delivered and make the completion.
So another Redskin first down. Stephen Davis back in. Redskins on the 38, and the play action again, and a good fake, and this pass is incomplete, and it's intended for Michael Westbrook with Walt Harris on the coverage.
And this is a staple to this Washington Redskins offense. You've seen the success they've had in the run game today against a very good run defense of the Chicago Bears. And what they'll do off of that is do a full play action. They'll sell the run full out and have a two-man route down the field. Right now, Chicago's doing a good job of not taking the fake, and they've got plenty of guys downfield in the secondary to cover those two wide receivers.
And Darius Thompson is into the game at wide receiver, lined up to the left on second down. Two tight ends for the Redskins as well, and a whistle and flags fly.
Before the snap, false start. Washington, number 48. 5-yard penalty. It's still second down.
So it's the running back Stephen Davis, and it'll be second down and 15 coming up. And the Redskins leading all teams in the NFC with the most false start penalties, and those are really frustrating the coaches. That's before you snap the ball.
Well, it's frustrating, and it's equally frustrating in a game like this, because in long down situations, this Bear defense is awfully tough. They like to pin their ears back and come after the quarterback. So a weapon for the offense is the hard count, but you can't use it if your own guys are the ones who are going to be offsides.
Second and 15. That makes sense. Here's Banks, and on the screen pass, here is Donnell Bennett, and Bennett spinning his way, tough to bring down, and gets a good deal of that yardage back. Brian Erlacher making the tackle, and the Redskins getting to the 33-yard line will need about 5 or so yards.
Now, something that the Redskins do very well is throw the screen pass, and they work a lot on it in practice, and you have to in order to be effective on it. You watch Donnell Bennett right there. He actually was a little impatient in the way in which he ran, and he got out in front of his guard. Ben Coleman there, you see, he's the one, you know, Donnell Bennett is leading that charge, but they really do a nice job. They had tremendous success in last week's ball game against Philadelphia.
It's like out-kicking your coverage.
You don't want to be out front when you've got the ball in your hand.
Third down and 5. Here's Kajana Carter going left and brought down, and Warwick Holdman. Tell you, they have Erlacher and a couple of speed backers on the outside.
Well, that's about the third time in 3rd and 5 or longer that they have run the football, trying to pick up the first down.
And we saw early in the game they were having success getting to the outside and pinning the linebackers inside, but right there, Warwick Holdman beats Chris Samuels across his face, and that is the problem. The two big guys prevent guys from getting up on these linebackers, Brian Erlacher, Warwick Holdman, and they have the speed to be able to get to the outside and make the tackles.
So it'll be 4th down and 5, and the Redskins will call a timeout. Not sure whether they should go for it on 4th and 5 or try to send in Brett Conway. In any event, they'll talk it over and we'll return in a moment. Redskins have talked it over, and they will go for it on 4th and 5. Brett Conway would try a 51-yarder from here. His career long is 55, but Conway has struggled lately, has hit the uprights 3 times in the last 2 games, and so the Redskins not taking any chances at this point, and seemingly will run the play on 4th and 5 from the 33. Davis is on the sideline. Kajana Carter is into the game, and Tony Banks is in the shotgun. So on 4th down and 5, Banks is tossed, caught by Michael Westbrook, and a flag is down, but the Redskins will have the first down. On the slant, Westbrook beating Walt Harris to the inside.
Yeah, they're going to get Walt Harris for pass interference.
That's the call.
Westbrook does a really nice job of coming across his face. Walt Harris is playing inside technique, and Westbrook's able to get across his face. Walt Harris having to try to stop him, having to pass interfere with him, but a nice job by Michael Westbrook running the route, and even a better throw by Tony Banks putting it on him.
So Westbrook has caught 3 of the 4 thrown to him, and that was a critical one on 4th and 5. So the Redskins with a first down on the Bears 23. Chicago leading 10-7. Stephen Davis checking back in at tailback. And they'll give it to Davis, and Davis picking up about 2, testing the middle of that massive line. Keith Traylor Came over from the Denver Broncos, Ted Washington from Buffalo, and they'd have made a huge difference to the Bears defense.
I wouldn't want to make my living all afternoon testing the middle of that defensive line either, because a lot of people think that Ted and Keith really just kind of clogged that area up, but they move down the line pretty good for big guys. And I tell you what, it's a no-win situation, because even if you two get by them, they fall on top of you, you're going to be hurt.
On the 10th play of this drive for the Redskins, 2nd down and 9, and this time it'll be Stephen Davis, and it's Tony Parrish, the strong safety, who penetrates, and a loss of 4 for Washington.
Yeah, well, the Redskins felt that the weakness of the Chicago Bears defense running the football would be the counter trade going back weak side. But Tony Parrish, the safety, bringing the 8th man in the box, and he's able to make the tackle. And the Redskins really felt coming into this game that the Bears would only try to stop the run with 7 guys, and they would play a 2-deep shell, which means 2 safeties deep. But throughout this first half, they have put 8 guys in the box to help stop this run.
Well, Banks is not operating out of the shotgun on 3rd and 13. Kajana Carter is back there, and Carter gets the handoff and pulls forward, and Mike Brown brings him down about 3 yards short of the first down. But Carter had a head of steam and pretty good momentum, but he'll get 9, forcing 4th down.
And there's no question that they want to run the football in 3rd down situations at a nickel personnel. We talked about it earlier. They were putting nickel people in 1st and 2nd downs and running the football. They like those matchups. And as I mentioned earlier, that's now the 4th time on 3rd and long that they have run the football.
So Brett Conway, who is 2 for 4 in each of the last 2 games, will attempt a 35-yarder as the Redskins attempt to tie the game. And Conway's kick is good, and we're tied at 10. Brett Conway from 35 yards out, and it was Banks who kept it alive with that 4th down pass to Westbrook. Back here at FedEx Field in Landover, Maryland, the Bears and the Redskins tied 10-10. An impressive 12-play, 49-yard drive capped by Conway's field goal. And Autry Denson on the return bobbles it, dives forward to the 37-yard line where the Bears take over. Well, the Chicago Bears, guys, defense seems to stiffen when they have to, and nothing fancy with them. The running game, and it was a great run by Leon Johnston for them.
I think it's kind of the stuff that we talked about in the beginning. They came out and tried to feel each other out, do some different things, but they've both fallen back into doing what they do best, and that's running the football.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And it's, 2 good football teams that are playing pretty good ball, and it's a typical Chicago Bears game, and it's going to go down to the wire.
Well, at least it's not like 73-0 like they had back in 1940, as the Redskins have more than doubled the Bears' time of possession. It'll be 1st and 10 at the 37-yard line, and now the Redskins will call a timeout. That will be their 2nd. And Daryl Green coming back in. And why did the Redskins call a timeout here?
Well, you take a look at it. The receiver up there at the top, they spread him out, and there was nobody covering him. Fortunately, the Redskins saw it, were able to call timeout.
A fortuitous timeout, to say the least. From the 37, Jim Miller going deep, and looked like David Terrell had a chance to catch that ball. He was covered by Fred Smoot, and it appeared that the ball might have gone through his arms.
Yeah, well, one of the things that David Terrell is going to learn, and he's a young player, this is his first year, he's a rookie, is that you have to give the quarterback somewhere to throw the football. And that play there, Fred Smoot did a nice job of keeping him along the sideline. You watch him there, there is nowhere to throw it, and Jim Miller was going to have to throw the absolute perfect pass, and that's very difficult to do against a good corner like Fred Smoot. Fred Smoot is also a rookie, but playing very well.
Yes, he is, and Smoot did get a hand on that. Well defensed by the Redskins. 2nd and 10, and the pitch to Anthony Thomas, trying to turn the corner, but the Redskins are there, and that'll be a 2-yard gain. Champ Bailey there, and David Terrell. So we have 2 David Terrells today, the 2nd-year safety for the Redskins, and of course the rookie wide receiver from Michigan for the Bears. They don't know each other and never met, but of course, talk about the war of words. He said David Terrell drops more than he catches. That's what the Redskin David Terrell said this week.
There was a lot of that going on. These 2 guys, as you mentioned, they didn't even know each other, just like Tony Banks and Brian Erlacher. They don't know each other either, but there were a exchanged throughout the week going into this game.
3rd down and 8. Empty backfield, and Jim Miller's pass is caught for the first down by Marty Booker. And the Bears with Marty Booker, who has been so valuable, particularly with Marcus Robinson out 9 games with the injury.
Yeah, and that's something you just don't see the Bears do a lot of, and that is convert 3rd and long situations. But there's Marty Booker once again. As we mentioned, he's the possession receiver for this team. He's also the guy you're going to see go down the field. You take a look at what they've done as far as throwing the football, and a lot of passes under 10 yards, which is pretty consistent with what they do. Of course, they had the one long pass there to David Terrell that was incomplete.
I see that little 0 for 1. Like an eye chart. That's what it looks like. 1st down and 10 at midfield, and the pressure on Miller, and the screen pass to Anthony Thomas, and he is tripped up by Robert Jones, who moved over from weak side linebacker to the middle, and a yard loss on the play.
A good job by Robert Jones reading that screen and being able to come over and make a play behind the pulling lineman. And, you know, you play in the league, you see a lot of different things. You get a feel for the game, and that's where Robert is right now. And with Kevin Mitchell out of the lineup, you'd think a lot of teams would lose something there, but Robert moved over from the weak side into the middle. That's kind of his natural position. So the Redskins don't lose a whole lot.
2nd down and 10. Handoff to Anthony Thomas. And the Redskins, other than the one play to Leon Johnson, doing a great job of stopping the run thanks to Robert Jones again.
Well, we're just talking about Robert Jones and what he's been able to do. And you take a look at him right here. He's going to read this all the way and get penetration there in the backfield and be able to make it or get involved on the play. And Robert Jones came here initially this season to be the starting middle linebacker. Kevin Mitchell was able to beat him out, and Robert then went to weak side linebacker, so he is comfortable at that middle linebacker position.
3rd and 10. Jim Miller fires it up the middle, and it's tipped. And it was Keith Lyle who was waiting at center field for a possible interception. And the pass goes incomplete.
This is going to be a tough matchup for Blake Brockermeyer all day. He has struggled with the speed rushers, and that is one of Bruce Smith's strengths. You see how he turns that corner with the low shoulder and affects Jim Miller in the pocket.
Yeah, not a real good decision by Jim Miller, just throwing it up. There was 3 guys already there, and Keith Lyle should have had himself an interception on that one. Bears very fortunate not to have it intercepted.
Here is Brad Maynard with the kick. Eric Metcalf will let it bounce, and it takes a Redskin bounce up to the 34-yard line.
Hit one of the guys.
It might have hit a player, and the Bears may get it. We'll wait for the official signal.
Boy, when you get a short punt like that and it's bouncing backwards, the return man has to come up and start yelling the signal word for all the guys to turn around and find that football and get away from it. You see Eric Metcalf, he's trying to get up there to let him know. It looks as though it's touched by Jerry Azuma before it touches a Redskin, so that ball should be down.
Washington's ball, 1st down.
That's exactly what happened. It very nearly hit the foot of Del Cassette of the Redskins.
I think if Jerry Azuma doesn't get in there and try and get this football, that it has a good chance of hitting one of their players. But you can see right there, he's the first one to make contact with that football.
And it winds up Washington ball with 4:40 to go in the 1st half. 1st down on the 32. Westbrook coming in motion, and the pitch to Stephen Davis, and Davis running upfield, but 1 at the most. Roosevelt Colvin making the tackle for the Bears.
You know, I think you talk about Roosevelt Colvin. I think he's the guy who really goes unnoticed probably the most. Everyone always talks about Brian Erlacher and what he does, but Roosevelt Colvin is very quietly having a very outstanding season. He's got 6.5 sacks on the year, and this whole linebacker crew is very solid.
2nd down and 9. Stephen Davis, and he's not going to get anything, and maybe loses a yard on the play. Tony Parrish. But a terrific linebacking core led, of course, by Brian Erlacher. And Chicago linebacker Brian Erlacher talks about the Bears' resurgence and what it would be like to play for Redskins owner Daniel Snyder this week in his feature article on FoxSports.com's Being Brian Erlacher. Check it out only at FoxSports.com. Keyword naturally Erlacher. Not naturally Erlacher, just Erlacher. 3rd down and 8 from the 34. 10-10 the score. 3.5 to play in the first half. Banks out of the shotgun and drills it, and the pass is caught by Kevin Lockett. First down, Redskins at the 47. Mike Green on the tackle.
Yeah, and Mike Green was giving Kevin Lockett an awful lot of cushion right there for that situation in the game. And you see how soft Mike Green is there. He gives him the whole middle of the field there to get back up inside. No way you're going to defend that pass with that kind of cushion.
Green moving into the nickelback position over Jerry Azuma, as the Redskins have outgained the Bears. First down at the 47 of the Redskins. Play action, Banks getting rushed, and Banks goes down, and it was Ted Washington who found an opening and took advantage for the first sack of the game for either team.
And that's just a big bonus for a Chicago Bears fan, because Ted Washington is not supposed to get sacks, and you can see him beat Corey Raymer right there real quick, and Ben Coleman does not get down inside, and he is in the backfield awfully fast, and Keith Traylor is right there with him. So the two big run stoppers meeting back in the pocket.
You know, as you mentioned, they're not known for guys that rush the passer, but they move surprisingly well for guys of their size.
He had a half a sack. Now he's got 1.5. So he's getting up there, this Ted Washington. 2nd down and 16. And the pass quickly out to Michael Westbrook. And Westbrook gets a couple of yards on the play. Philip Daniels on the tackle, and that will bring up 3rd and about 14 for the Redskins. And we're going to wind down now to the 2-minute warning in this pivotal game. The Bears already in the playoffs. The Redskins need to win and then get some help. 2 minutes remaining in the first half. We're tied 10-10.
Well, there's a look at Ted Washington and the plays that he's been able to make here in the last couple of plays. Here he is getting up and getting pressure on Tony Banks for the sack, along with Keith Traylor. And on the very next play, he gets up the field, uses his speed, if you can believe that quickness, and we talked about it earlier. He's got tremendous quickness for a guy his size, and he's able to shoot the gap at times, and we saw it right there when he's able to get pressure on Tony Banks on that last play.
2 minutes remaining in the first half. 3rd down and 13. Here's Banks stepping up, and he completes to Kajana Carter, who goes out of bounds in Bears territory at the 48 and stops the clock after the 9-yard pickup.
This Bears defense can get awfully stingy, and the job that they were able to do in last week's ball against Tampa Bay was very impressive. It's a group that's playing with a lot of confidence. Their secondary and particularly their corners are playing with a lot of confidence. Those two safeties of theirs have always played well, you know, Mike Brown and Tony Parrish, but their corners are playing with a lot of confidence at this point in the season.
Brian Barker and the fair catch, and a very risky play made by Leon Johnson on that catch, with several burgundy jerseys around him at about the 10-yard line. Well, coming up on the Visa halftime report, JB, Terry, Howie, and Chris will have scores and highlights from around the league, and the Fox Sports ticker will keep you updated with up-to-the-second stats. A little risky here.
Well, you don't see many guys field a punt over the shoulder, and that's the position that Leon Johnson found himself in. He is very fortunate that he didn't muff that punt, because Michael Bates is standing right there. So Leon's got to do a better job of positioning himself with the ball in front of him when he goes to field that punt.
Leon Johnson scoring the only Bear touchdown with a 32-yard run. Compared to last week, you can see that more passing than running. 1st and 10 at the 13. James Allen is in the game at running back, and this is his first carry. James Allen, and he drags the defender David Terrell, but not before he picks up close to 9 yards.
Well, we had Brockemeyer on Bruce Smith earlier in the passing game. Now the advantage goes to Blake. You see him right here in the run game, just turns him outside, allows James Allen to get up in between for a nice little gain on 1st down.
Bears have 2 timeouts remaining. Jim Miller nearly intercepted, and that pass nowhere near James Allen. That's the guy he wanted to get it to. And it was Antonio Pierce, the rookie starting today, who very nearly had a shoe top interception.
Well, this is one of the tough things about offensive football. When you get into a situation like this, you get the big gain on first down, which then somewhat teases you, because then you want to try to get into a 2-minute mode and see if you can move the football and come away with points before the half. But then right now, this third down becomes critical. Otherwise, you're giving the ball back to the Redskins with good field position.
3rd and 2. Baxter, the tight end, in motion. The pitch to Allen, being chased down, and it was Antonio Pierce, who Marty Schottenheimer says may be the brightest rookie I've ever coached. Sends Allen for a loss in 4th down in a kicking situation, and timeout on the field with 1:12 to go, and the Redskins will get it back. Well, the Redskins used their last timeout, but they've got a good opportunity here.
Well, they do, and Brad Maynard, the punter for the Bears, he's known as a somewhat of a pooch punter and pinning people back, but right now he's going to have to test his leg, because they really need him to get one off deep, so the Redskins won't have the ball at the middle of the field with a minute left in this half.
And he's a good directional kicker to keep the ball away from Eric Metcalf in the return game.
And this is a deep kick, but Metcalf at his 41-yard line on the return and doesn't get much. Good coverage by the Bears punting team, but again, the Redskins, after the 40-yard kick, will have a good field position, and now some tempers are shortened out there. Patrick Manley, the long snapper, getting involved. Redskins, with Tony Banks, has completed 11 of 15. Stephen Davis scoring the Washington touchdown, and Michael Westbrook with 4 catches, including a big 4th down grab that set up the tying field goal. No timeouts left for the Redskins. They are on their own 46. That's Westbrook on the right. 3 wide receivers. Kajana Carter is the back next to Tony Banks. Banks is going to run, and he gets to midfield. Brian Robinson is there, and the clock continues to run.
Well, Tony Banks was trying to get to Zeron Flemister on that play, and Zeron couldn't get open with him. He didn't have anywhere to go with the football.
2nd and 6. There's the slant. Good for the first down to Westbrook again, and now the Redskins have to hurry it up, and they're going to spike it and stop the clock. And they do, with 33 seconds remaining in the half. Still got to go some to get into field goal range for Brett Conway.
Well, there's still time with 33 seconds on the clock that they can throw the ball down the middle of the field and still have time to get to the line of scrimmage and clock it to stop the clock. But they're going to have to do that now if they're going to do it. One more play from now, they'll have a tough time being able to throw it down the middle and still clock the ball to get the field goal team out on the field.
Well, the Redskins scored 4 times in the final 2 minutes, and it's been by virtue of the field goal. And here is Banks's toss, and it's caught by Rod Gardner at the 33-yard line, and under a half a minute remaining on the clock.
I don't think that's the middle of the field pass you were talking about, Troy.
17 seconds left.
No, you'd like to see him try to get the ball up the field a little bit more, or even if on that the pass wasn't so much the problem or the route, but it wasn't a real accurate throw, and so he was unable to do anything with the catch and get up the field.
Well, as you pointed out, right now with only 17 seconds left, they will be forced to throw the ball on the outside. So now their offense is going to be very limited. They cannot throw the ball into the middle of the field and get that field goal team on the field to kick the field goal. Well, and it's sitting here at 4th and 5 also.
That's exactly right. They spiked it on 3rd down. Now it's 4th down, and now they have to make this or the half's over.
This would be a 51-yard field goal right from here for Brett Conway. Redskins passed that opportunity up earlier, and now they're doing it again on 4th down. Here's the pass out, and it is knocked away incomplete, and the Bears will take over on downs. Mike Green on the coverage with Zeron Flemister. So Brett Conway stays on the sidelines and does not try the 51-yarder.
Well, the thing that has always amazed me in the National Football League is that There are 4 or 5 games each and every year that are won and lost based on how you perform in 2-minute offense, and yet it's more of an afterthought with these NFL teams on how they practice it during the week. Most teams, I know even for us in Dallas, we only practiced it Thursday after we finished a long day of practice, and the tempo wasn't all that good. It wasn't not simulating game type conditions, and I really think that that's an area that teams should spend more time on, especially when you know that games come down so often to 2-minute situations.
And even for a momentum builder, this is the end of the first half, but to be able to get some points, go in with the lead at halftime, come back out in the second half getting the ball, it's a tremendous momentum builder for your football team. So a missed opportunity right there for the Washington Redskins.
And that's where you hope the team is going to be the crispest in the 2-minute drive at the end of the half and at the end of the game. But the Redskins, who decide twice to go for it on 4th down on the 34 of the Bears instead of trying a long field goal, will have to be satisfied with a 10-10 tie. As Stephen Davis scoring a touchdown, Leon Johnson on the ground. It's been that kind of a game, a couple of field goals. And the Bears, who need to win to stay ahead of the Green Bay Packers in the NFC Central, and the Redskins looking to win to keep their flickering playoff hopes alive. So that is the end of the first half with the score. The Bears 10 and the Redskins 10. Fox NFL Sunday will continue after these messages and a word from your local Fox station.
It's everywhere NFL fans want to be.
And welcome to the Visa halftime. Full house here in Los Angeles as we'll get you caught up on action from the first half, including right now Chicago and Washington all knotted at 10. Washington trying to hang on to playoff hopes.
Brian Erlacher, the Bears on the left. LeVar Arrington of the Redskins on the right. Now, inside, Tony Banks sacked by Roosevelt. Paul and fumble. Chicago recovers, led to a field goal by the Bears. Stephen Davis, 3-yard touchdown run. 7-3 Washington. And then Leon Johnson takes his pick. Watch this run. Inside, cuts it back, turns on the speed. 32 yards later, touchdown. Got a whale of a game going on. 10-all Bears and the Redskins at the half. Warren Sapp said, let's get ready to rumble here. Saints coming to town, fighting for a wild card. Johnson out to Carl Williams. Good move, spin move, dive, lunges, touchdown, 14 yards. Tampa Bay up 7-0. Aaron Brooks back in the pocket. No pressure, does not see Rondé Barber. Interception, return of 12 yards, then Mike Allstott. 1 yard line, inside, pulls his way in. Touchdown, all of a sudden it's 14-0. Now Johnson back, dumps it off to Warwick Dunn. Watch this move. Was it down? No. Spins, drive, legs, pull, in. Touchdown, 17 yards, 30-0. Hello, you got it. Saints getting demolished at the half. Cordell Stewart, roll, you boat. Matt Cushing, touchdown, 4 yards. Here we go, 14-7. Steelers, second quarter. Cordell, play action, rolls right. Turn it on, youngin. Get in there. There you go, 4-yard touchdown. Steelers up 20-7. Stewart back. Hines Ward Field was named after him. Hines Field. Get it? Steelers. Awfully impressive. Right now, the Terry Award for MVP. You got to take a strong look at quarterback Cordell Stewart. How about this guy for MVP? Kurt Warner. What a year. Now, Chris Winkie, rookie quarterback for Carolina. Cover 2 safeties go wide. Linebacker doesn't get deep enough. 27-yard touchdown. Isaac Birch, 7-0 Carolina. Warner, what he does best, hang in that pocket. Great pass protection. Ricky Pruill, this time 7-yard touchdown, 7-all. And then Falk, 4-yard run around left end. It's 14-10. St. Louis and then Carolina lining up for a field goal. Bad snap, picked up by Drew Bly. Pitches to Dexter McClellan. Here we go, touchdown. Hello. There's your score, 21-13. Rams over the Panthers at the half.
All right, the Giants lost or tied will clinch the NFC East title for the Philadelphia Eagles. Jacksonville has been eliminated, and Minnesota will be if Minnesota loses, which they're doing right now. Falcons enter the game 1 game out of the last wild card spot in the NFC. Both the Chargers and Chiefs are playing for next year. They're knotted at 7, and the Ravens are currently the 3rd wild card team in the AFC. They're on top of the Bengals by the score, Chris, of 13-0.
The Bengals.
Chicago, Washington's Chris.
Well, Washington is doing a nice job controlling the football out there. But it's interesting to watch Tony Banks play because this young man is under tremendous pressure. It's basically an audition the rest of the season to decide whether or not he is going to be the quarterback next season. So now they're trying to run the football tough against the Bears. I really think this second half is going to come down to, can Tony Banks make the plays in a big game? We'll find out.
Yeah, Pittsburgh, you know, the only Achilles heel I could possibly see for the Pittsburgh Steelers is Chris Brown, their kicker, missing an extra point. That seems to be about it. They play great defense. And if one thing Jerome Bettis sitting out, and number one, it rests Jerome Bettis, as Chris pointed out, in the pregame for the playoffs and down the stretch. But also it's given them the opportunity to expand what they do offensively. Everyone knows about Hines Ward, and Plaxico Burress is a guy that has great potential and has really stepped to the forefront. It's given Cordell an opportunity to say, hey, I am an MVP candidate.
Yeah, right. And that extra point, a little bit of defensive Chris Brown, that was a bad snap, Howie. So, I mean, you know.
As Howie would say,
the Steelers now.
The Steelers, man.
A lot of love.
Really, it was a bad snap.
You're defending kickers now?
Yeah, it was a bad snap. It was a bad snap.
These halftime will change.
He's also a Husker
after this.
He's had a great year.
We're at halftime. The score is tied between the Bears and the Redskins, 10-10. And the holiday season is upon us on this, the last Sunday before Christmas. And now we present season's greetings from our entire crew, who we think is the best in the business. The Chicago Bears and the Washington Redskins are all tied 10-10 as we get set for the start of the third quarter. Right now, let's send it down to Pam Oliver. Pam.
Hey, Dick, talked to both coaches at halftime. First, Marty Schottenheimer, who indicated that the that the Redskins have to sort out some things defensively, especially with some of the hitch plays that the Bears are throwing at them offensively. As for Dick Duron, says he's fairly pleased with the way the offense is played, particularly in the running game, though defensively, he says, we have got to start playing better. Back to you.
All right, Pam, thank you very much. And Marty Schottenheimer, in describing the Bears' running game, he said they're kind of like the single wing style. That's how vanilla and simplistic they are.
And he said watching film, he had never seen a team with more different running plays in their package. So there'll be a few that they pick out and run predominantly through the game, but they've got a lot of choices as you break down their tape.
Nothing fancy for Dick Duron. And Kajana Carter picking up the kickoff, and Carter getting to the 20-yard line. So, you know, guys, it's been a kind of a game that's been mirror images of one another. The Redskins and the Bears, very similar, it seems.
Well, that's exactly right. They are very similar. And, I think Chris Collinsworth there at the halftime made a very good point, in that this game, more than likely, if the Redskins are going to have a chance to win this thing, it's going to come down to Tony Banks, and he's going to have to make a play here in the second half in order for them to win the game.
And that was one of the criticisms against him last week against the Philadelphia Eagles, with opportunities late in that football game to get the Redskins back in, and he had the 2 interceptions in the end zone.
And it'll be a personal foul call against the Redskins. Kato Serwanga right in the middle of it, and there with a little shoving match.
You always catch the second guy, Dick.
With Larry Wiggum.
And that's the guy, Kato Serwanga, that the coaches for this Redskin team, they've really been bragging on him over the last couple of weeks and the way he's played in special teams.
So on the first down, here is Stephen Davis barreling off the left side, and Davis picking up 7.5 yards. Warwick Holdman bringing Davis down. As you look at the halftime statistics, Redskins and Bears practically even in the important rushing yardage.
Well, that's exactly right, and they are even. I think the surprise would be for the Chicago Bears. I really feel, in talking with them last night, the Bears thought that they would be able to come in here and shut down the Redskins running game. They've really not been able to do that in the first 30 minutes of this game.
48 yards rushing for Stephen Davis. Second down and 3. Here's Davis trying to change direction, going upfield. He's got the first down. to the 23-yard line.
Well, the success they had in the first half, you'll see, has been a lot with the lineman and the fullback. They've been getting to the outside, and they've been able to seal it and kick people out. Johnston does a nice job as the linebacker goes to run through. They were creating a lane on the outside, and then Dave Zott pulling again with the fullback leading. They're kind of washing everything down to take away the pursuit, and then sending the fullback as the lead guy to kick out contain.
Well, they knew they were going to have to get to that second level, and they were definitely concerned about the speed of these linebackers, particularly Brian Erlacher. And as you mentioned, Moose, that's something that they've been able to do. They've been able to seal things off and get the running backs up in the crease.
Running more times in the middle, but gaining more off the right side. Here on play action, Banks finds Brian Johnston, and Johnson gets upended by Brian Erlacher at the 29-yard line, about 3.5 yards shy of the first down.
Well, that was interesting. Roosevelt Colvin, he really kind of had to make a decision on who he was going to cover, and then you see Brian Erlacher coming over to make the tackle. And this guy, I tell you, you watch film on him, and he is all over the field. Rarely do you see him not involved in the play or around the play at all times.
2nd and 3. Here's Davis in traffic. He has a way of getting through that traffic, and a flag is down. Tony Parrish brings Stephen Davis to the turf, and the penalty will be against the Redskins. Holding is the initial call. Ed Hockley, the referee. Illegal use of hands.
Holding. Correction. Illegal hands holding the face mask. Washington, number 62. It's a 10-yard penalty. Repeat, second down.
Right guard Ben Coleman. So 2 penalties on the Redskins following the second half kickoff. And there you see the Bears have had a penalty-free game, and 5 tacked on to the Redskins.
And that's one of the important things in the way that these teams play. We talked about very similar philosophies, and they can't put themselves in bad positions, and penalties is one of the other ways. You talk about turnovers a lot, but penalties can really disrupt a drive. They've gone from converting a 2nd and short now to a 2nd and 13. So this offense will have a difficult time overcoming these types of situations.
Brian Johnson, the fullback, in motion, and the screen to Stephen Davis, and Davis not going to get away from everyone, and ultimately R.W. McQuarters makes the tackle after Ted Washington had the first shot at Davis.
And Ted Washington, he sniffs it out the whole way, and he's able to pursue it and get involved in that. And Ted Washington is having himself an outstanding day. Here he is right here, big number 92, Ted Washington. He knows right there that here comes the screen, and he goes off chasing Stephen Davis, and then he gets some help from his friends, but he is moving extremely well today and pursuing some things down the backside.
And that's something I think it's overlooked. I really feel that a lot of people think that he and Keith Traylor just clog the middle, but they are very good at pursuing down the line. And as you pointed out several times today, a lot quicker than people give them credit for.
No gain on that play, so it's 3rd and 13. And there is Banks faking a pass, and then he flips one over the head of Lockett. That was an awkward play, to say the least, but awkward for Banks, who was rushed by Roosevelt Colvin, bringing up 4th down.
Well, it almost looked like it was a quarterback draw, as quick as he was to try to get out of the pocket and shoot up in there on the run, and then he knew he wasn't going to get anywhere. You take a look, Tony dropping back, he feels the pressure with the blitz, and then realized he had nowhere to run with the football, and tries just unloading it. But yeah, very awkward looking play.
So Brian Barker on the high snap, kicking from the 9-yard line. Not a good kick. It's an end-over-end short kick, and it's a return by Autry Denson to the 40-yard line of the Redskins. Talk about good field position. The Bears have it right now. We'll be back.
Fox NFL Sunday is brought to you by UPS, the official delivery company of football fans everywhere.
Tied at 10-10 early here in the 3rd quarter. As far as the ball control, normally the Bears excel at that aspect of the game, but the Redskins have the big edge here.
Yeah, they have today, and yeah, very uncharacteristic to be in time of possession to go in the opponent's favor when you're a Chicago Bear, but they've got great field position here, and that is definitely something that they're used to having.
Anthony Thomas is the setback. 1st down, and Anthony Thomas gets hit and will lose a yard on the play. Marco Coleman with the initial pressure. Hey, the Redskins playing the run beautifully today.
And the key for a running game on the outside is the block by the tight end, and that's who Marco Coleman was going against right there. And he got the penetration and disrupted that whole play. And the Bears have to be able to run the football, or really I think that their offense can be shut down. And right now, one of the indications, the time of possession we just saw, they are not running the ball effectively this afternoon.
8 carries, 26 yards for Anthony Thomas. That's not up to par. Here is David Terrell on the wide receiver screen, and not much there. Marco Coleman on the play, picking up 4 yards on the play. Well, next week, week 16 of this NFL season. And here is the menu on Fox. The 49ers go against the Cowboys in Dallas. Big win for the 49ers yesterday against the Eagles. The Giants against the Philadelphia Eagles. And the Giants are now tied with the Seattle Seahawks 17-17. And they need a win today to stay alive. And they play next week. So it's 3rd and 8 for Jim Miller on the Redskins 38. Miller pass overthrowing Des White, and that brings up 4th down. And now a scuffle going on at the 45. Well, we told you about the war of words between Tony Banks and Brian Erlacher and the 2 David Terrells. But now it is extended onto the field for a couple of skirmishes in this game. Bruce Smith, Olin Kreutz amongst the others. Let's see where it started.
Well, it's going to be in the middle. Olin Kreutz, you saw him kind of squaring off. He takes Bruce Smith to the ground and then just finishes the block. And Kennard Lang is the guy who gets up in defense of his teammate. And here comes Chris Valerial over to help his guy out. So Kennard's that's part of the game, Kennard. You know, you might not like it, but that's what they're out there doing.
Brad Maynard trying to keep it in play. Metcalf immediately calling for the fair catch, and Maynard gets a little more toe on it than he wanted. It's into the end zone for the touchback, and the Redskins get it back in a 10-10 game. It has been an outstanding defensive game by both teams. Tied 10-10, 9:52 to go in the 3rd quarter. Tony Banks has thrown to 8 different receivers in this game. Stephen Davis on the fake, and Banks is looking to throw, and he fires and unable to make the catch. Donnell Bennett out of the backfield, and once again the Bears putting some good pressure on the Redskins quarterback.
In a couple of different times today, you've seen Tony Banks drop back and make the big play action fake, and they're trying to get something down the field. That time there, they were trying to get Michael Westbrook down the field on a deep post. There was nothing there. And the thing is that every time Tony has not been able to go to his #1 receiver, you've seen him get a little bit antsy in the pocket, and that's when he's been a little bit erratic with his throws.
2nd down and 10. Westbrook has 5 catches today to lead the Redskins. The pass on the crossing pattern caught by Westbrook. And Michael Westbrook making the big play. And it's a pickup of 22 yards. Tony Parrish on the defense. And Parrish is shaken up right at the Redskins bench.
On that last play, the first thing you got to look at is the protection that Tony Banks gets. There's nobody that gets close to him, and he's able to throw the ball on time to Michael Westbrook running the drag route, working against Walt Harris, and Walt Harris having to dodge traffic to try to keep up with him, and he just can't do that. And a nice gain for the Washington Redskins.
Wow, and you see Tony Parrish right at the end of that run. It seems like he is out on his feet as he goes down to the ground.
One of the big strengths of this defense for the Chicago Bears is Westbrook looks to him on the 2 safeties, Mike Brown and Tony Parrish. And good news, Tony Parrish is up and walking back to the Bears sideline.
And that was a nasty collision. You'll see right here, helmet to helmet with Michael Westbrook, and it looks as though you see how his arms are dropped and he's going down. He might have been out before he even hit the ground. And sometimes when you're playing the game of football, you take a shot in the head and the circuitry kind of gets disrupted for a second and all the lights go out.
Mike Green replaces Tony Parrish, and that play of 22 yards was the longest from scrimmage for the Redskins today. First down from the Washington 42. 2 tight ends in the game and the running play, and it's Stephen Davis And Davis picking up a yard. Davis with 53 yards rushing and scored the Redskins touchdown. He is the first Redskin player ever to gain 1,000 yards or more for 3 consecutive years.
And when you know Marty Schottenheimer, talking to him, he couldn't say enough good things about Stephen Davis, and he's coached some good backs. When you think about Christian Okoye and Barry Word and Marcus Allen, and he thinks that this guy, Stephen Davis, is the best of all of them.
Pretty good company. 2nd and 8. And here's Davis. And Davis is knocked back. And Keith Traylor getting into the action. Tough to run against those 2 massive tackles and no gain on the play.
You're talking about guys being able to clog up running lanes. He and Ted Washington, when they're shoulder to shoulder, they've cut down about 4 running lanes right there. So when you're cutting back, and you'll see Keith, he gets double teamed, he's off the ball, and he fights back up through. I mean, these guys just are not guys that just clog up the things. They're very athletic, you see right there. And the one thing that they have brought is the experience of winning. You see the Super Bowl championships and the Pro Bowl selections. That's something that's going to be very valuable for this football team as they get into their playoff run.
3rd down and 8, and here is Banks, and Banks completes to Zeron Flemister downfield, and that becomes the longest pass play or running play of the day. 34 yards, and a first down at the 22 of the Bears.
That's the best throw we've seen from Tony Banks all day. Zeron Flemister, 89, is working down the middle against this cover 2 coverage, and he gets down the middle. Tony is able to get it up over the linebacker there, Warwick Holdman, and puts it right on the money. And that's the weakness in that coverage, and you've got to be able to exploit it, and you've got to have a guy with some speed that can get down the middle, and Zeron Flemister was able to.
Longest reception of Flemister's career, and a first down at the 23. The Redskins looking to take the lead, and Michael Westbrook cannot hold on. The pass is incomplete, and the coverage by Roosevelt Colvin.
That was one of the few times that the Bears had been in cover 2 this afternoon, and you mentioned earlier that the Redskins really expected to see a heavy dose of that, but we didn't see it last week against Tampa Bay, a team that they felt was going to try to run the football against them. And today with the Redskins and what they're doing, you had to expect more cover 3 in the man coverage that they saw last week against Tampa.
2nd and 10. Davis, and holding on is Warwick Holdman from behind, and maybe 2 yards on the play with 7 minutes remaining in the 3rd quarter. Steven Alexander, who has been on the injured reserve for 9 weeks now with a fractured bone in his lower left leg, Pro Bowler last year, and a key element in the Redskin passing attack.
Well, and when he's been down, he's played very little this year, and it has dramatically affected this offense. You think about the offense with Marty Schottenheimer in Kansas City and what they do with Tony Gonzalez. That's what they envisioned with Steven Alexander, but they haven't been able to do it because he has not been able to stay on the field.
3rd down and 8, and underneath Rod Gardner changes direction, gets the first down near the 5. Rod Gardner. And a gain of 14 yards. It'll be 1st and goal for Washington.
And you take a look at the protection again. The line is doing a very good job giving Tony Banks time to throw the football. And Rod Gardner, here's a guy who has not gotten really enough credit for someone who's playing in his rookie season. And we talked to him a couple weeks ago, and he's saying that in college he had about 4 routes, and in the pros they've expanded it to about 9, and it's allowed him to do a lot of different things.
Stephen Davis hung up at the line of scrimmage by Roosevelt Colvin. And coming back into the lineup, Tony Parrish, the strong safety, who was perhaps knocked out in that collision.
Possibly one of the reasons that Zeron Flemister was able to get down the middle. You had Tony Parrish on the sideline, your regular safety being out of the game, and that is where the big plays have come on this drive, is in the passing game, not in the run game.
2nd and goal for the Redskins. On the 8. Play action, and here is Banks throwing the ball away into the 2nd row. Closest to it was the tight end Walter Rasby.
And Rasby had a step there and a shot in the corner of the end zone. Walter Rasby, not known as a pass receiver, he's more of a blocker, and that's why he's effective on a play like this. Nobody near him, and you see Parrish trying to get back to cover him, but Tony was a little slow in seeing it and recognizing it, and then once he did, it was too late.
And the 11th play of the drive for the Redskins, trying to stay alive in this wild card playoff berth. They need a win today and some help. And with Tampa Bay getting it, New Orleans beat, the Redskins have to win today. Timeout, Chicago. We'll be back.
You know, as a quarterback, you're always talking about how a receiver needs to make a catch for you. Well, that holds true for the fans as well. You take a look, you get a ball right in your chest, and he can't come down with it. Now, look, we got someone there from the Air Force's kid who is who comes away with it, so not all bad.
Got that ball under that jacket. 3rd down and goal at the 8-yard line for the Redskins. Looking to take the lead again. Banks escapes 1 defender, 2, and fires, and the pass is not controlled. It is incomplete. Stephen Davis did not have control, and that will bring up 4th down, and the Redskins will be forced to try to take the lead with a field goal.
Well, you take a look again. Key trailer, number 94, working on Ben Coleman. He gets up the field, which starts the pressure, and then you've got 72 Carl Powell, who makes Tony Banks get outside. And when you don't have time to throw the football, everything is so condensed as it is down here in the red zone, and when you don't have time, it's just awfully hard to complete passes.
This will be a 26-yard attempt by Brett Conway. He kicked one from 35 yards in the 2nd quarter, and this kick is good. And the Redskins, in a seesaw game, have regained the lead 13-10 with just under 5 minutes remaining in the 3rd.
Fox NFL Sunday is brought to you by Southwest Airlines, proud sponsor of the NFL and official airline of Super Bowl 36. By Saturn, now with 2 distinctively different car lines, the L Series and S Series. By DirecTV, the #1 satellite entertainment provider. And by Dr. Pepper and your local Dr. Pepper bottler. Be you, nothing's better, Dr. Pepper.
Redskins looking to even their record at 7-7. That's the scoring drive with Conway's 26-yard field goal giving the Redskins the lead. And Conway on the kickoff. Leon Johnson returning for the Bears. And the Redskin coverage, the best in the NFL on kickoffs, led by Brian Johnson. Bury the Bears inside the 15. Viewing this game and the people who cover it brings to mind how Dick Schaap took the readers into the inner sanctum of pro football in his great book Instant Replay in the late 60s with Jerry Kramer of the Green Bay Packers. Dick Schaap passed away on Friday. Brilliant in every medium he undertook. Newspaper, magazine, television, you name it. He was the gold standard of sports journalists, and we'll miss him. 1st down on the 19. Jim Miller has the pass knocked down. Bruce Smith. He was trying to get it to Marty Booker, and it'll be 2nd down.
And it's a good play by Bruce Smith. He starts to rush and knows that he's not able to get there, and he drops back and is able to deflect the pass. And he's up here at the top of your screen, and just as Jim Miller gets ready to throw it, Bruce Smith drops back, and he's able to get a hand on it and deflect that ball. Very savvy play by a veteran player.
2nd and 10 at the 19. Bears trailing 13-10. Anthony Thomas. And right now the Redskins are beating the Bears at their own game with defense. Daryl Green, and for a game break, right now let's check in with James Brown.
Hey, Dick, how many highlights of these have we seen of Marshall Faulk? Take a look at the latest. Nice shifty moves here. First to daylight. Guess what, Dick? 70 yards to pay dirt. 8th of the season. He's rushed for over 300 yards this season against the Panthers. 31-16 Rams. Back to Dick, Troy, and Daryl.
Third and 12. Miller at the 10, and his pass through the fingers, incomplete to Marty Booker, and that'll bring up 4th down. And this crowd, which has been quiet, we thought it was quiet last week against the Eagles, but now they are in full throat, and the Bears are forced to punt.
You take a look at Marty Booker, number 86. He's going to work up. He's got some room there. The pass goes through his hands, but even if he makes that catch, he had not gone beyond the stick, so he would not have even gotten the first down if they had completed it.
So Brad Maynard will kick from deep in his own end, and it's a high kick, not a deep kick, and the fair catch made by Eric Metcalf just shy of midfield. So under 4 minutes to go. Redskins lead in good field position again. Well, Fox tonight, it's a full night of comedy, starting with back-to-back holiday episodes of King of the Hill, followed by The Simpsons, Malcolm in the Middle, a holiday episode of That 70s Show, and an all-new holiday Futurama. It all starts tonight at 7, 6 Central, tonight on Fox. Well, Daryl Green, who wasn't sure a week ago whether he would come back, will come back for a 20th campaign next year. Stephen Davis on first down finds his way into Bear territory where Brian Erlacher makes the stop, a gain of about 2.
Right now, the Chicago Bears offense is really not playing well this afternoon. This Bears defense, which has rescued them several times this season, needs to step up and make a play, because Washington has controlled the field position in this second half. The one opportunity that Chicago did get, they went 3 and out. So this Bears defense will have to give them a short field.
Nearly 29 minutes. That's what the Bears have given up in ball control on the season. And already the Redskins have 28. Second down and 8. And down goes Banks. Roosevelt Colvin with his second sack of the day.
Well, in football, the guys you're blocking on the outside are very athletic. This is Roosevelt Colvin right here. If you're going to cut him, you need to get him off his feet. Stephen Davis, he turned his head. He went a little bit too low, and that's what happens. These guys are too athletic on the outside, and that is one of the fundamentals in the game of football that goes overlooked sometimes, is protection by backs. And to be a complete guy, you got to be able to keep that guy on the line of scrimmage.
Well, you would know it. You did it in Dallas so well. And Tony Banks now looking at 3rd down and 13. And here they come again. And Banks goes down again. Philip Daniels. So back-to-back sacks by the Bears. One by Colvin, the other by Daniels, and 4th down coming up for Washington.
Well, you take a look at what they do. They're going to run the twist here and then get Philip Daniels. He's going to be coming right up inside the middle and comes untouched. Nobody there to block him. The offensive line for the Redskins does not pass that thing off. And as a result, you get the sack by Philip Daniels untouched.
So here is Brian Barker with a beauty. Leon Johnson on the high kick down to the 15. And he manages to wend his way to the 22, where Antonio Pierce makes the tackle. All right, the NFC playoff picture here in week number 15. The Rams and the Bears are the division leaders. Both have clinched playoff berth. The Philadelphia Eagles, losing yesterday, lead the NFC East. 49ers right now would be the first wild card team. The Green Bay Packers would be the next, and Tampa Bay, leading New Orleans today, would solidify the number 6 spot. That's the NFC story, and the top 6 make the playoffs. Bears with a first down on their 22, trailing by 3. 2 tight ends. Anthony Thomas dives for a couple.
Right now, they're just out of sync in the running game. What they were doing effectively in the first half, they're just not executing this half. The blocks that are being made, the backs aren't seeing them. Right on that play, Marty Booker is one of the secondary men, came in on a blitz, put him right on his back, and Anthony Thomas ran into the hole. You'll see Sam Shade. Watch Marty Booker. Boom. Look at this out here. There's nothing out here right now, and Anthony Thomas just didn't see it.
2nd and 9. And here's Thomas, this time off the left side, and not much there. It'll bring up 3rd down and about 6. Kennard Lang making the tackle. This has been a terrific defensive effort by the Redskins, but they're only leading by 3 as we wind down toward the close of the 3rd.
Well, and it really has, because if you looked at the Chicago Bears offensively last week and what they were able to do running the football, particularly in the second half against Tampa Bay, the Redskins knew coming in that they were going to have to be able to stop Anthony Thomas, and they've done an outstanding outstanding job of doing that and containing him here in this game today.
There's the numbers that back you up, Troy. 3rd down and 5. Jim Miller on a fade, and Marty Booker downfield, and a flag goes down. Champ Bailey trying to keep up with Marty Booker. And running in is the lineman, and it looks like a hold. And it'll be against the Redskins. An automatic 1st down is coming up.
It's an automatic 1st down, and the Redskins are trying to argue that it was an uncatchable ball.
But because it's a holding call, that they're thinking about pass interference. And, you know, maybe if he doesn't hold him, he can get to that ball and catch it.
Holding by the defense, number 24. That's a 5-yard penalty. Doesn't matter that the pass was not catchable because it occurred before the pass was thrown. Automatic 1st down.
Ed Hockley with a good job. Well, he's an attorney by trade, and he gave a full explanation there.
Well, and he writes the hoppers that these officials, you know, follow each and every year, and Ed's going to do a tremendous job of explaining exactly what happened.
1st down for the Bears on the 32. 46 seconds left in the 3rd. Anthony Thomas, and he gets a yard. Difference in the game, a Brett Conway field goal here in the 3rd quarter from 26 yards out to break a 10-10 halftime game. Bears took the lead on a Paul Ehninger field goal. Redskins, with Stephen Davis's 3-yard run, took a 7-3 lead, and then Leon Johnson with a 32-yard scamper put the Bears in front. But Conway's last 2 field goals, and Washington's in front. 2nd down and 8 at the 34. Depending on the count, this could be the last play of the 3rd quarter. And there is the deep pass to Booker again, and it's broken up nicely by Champ Bailey this time. Champ Bailey, step for step with Marty Booker, breaks it up as the 3rd quarter comes to a close with the score. The Redskins 13 and the Bears 10. And Fox NFL Sunday will continue after a word from your local Fox station. FedEx Field in Landover, Maryland, with the Redskins leading the Bears 13-10.
And this has been one of the criticisms of this offense throughout the season, is their non-threatening approach down the football field. And you see that 15-yard marker, in 14 of those passes coming under 15 yards, only 4 going beyond the 15 yards.
John Shoup, the offensive coordinator, who believes in the conservative style, but the team is 10-3, but 3rd down and 8 for Jim Miller, and he dumps it off to Damon Shelton, and Shelton will be tackled, I believe, short of the sticks by LeVar Arrington. It is 4th down for the Bears, and they need about a yard.
LeVar Arrington made a nice play right there, and you're right, Dick. He tackled him short of the 1st down, and you'll see him working across, and he's able to get up on him, and right there he was trying to punch the ball out and create a fumble, but he was still able to make the tackle and keep him from, well, they're measuring right here, but it looked to me like he was short of getting the 1st down.
Well, they were by about a couple of inches.
It'll be interesting to see what the decision will be at this point of the game, and it looks like Jim Herndon is coming in, who is the short yardage tackle for the Bears. So,
well, Dick Geron's conservative, but not that conservative.
Well, it looks as though they're going to go for it right here. So this, with the way that field position plays into both of these football teams' philosophy, as we start the 4th quarter, this is just a huge play.
And the ball is on the 42. Leon Johnson is in the game with Damon Shelton, and Jimmy Herndon, a tackle, has reported as an eligible receiver. Tight formation, 4th and inches, and they've got it. 1st down, Jim Miller with the quarterback sneak. And the forward push by the forward wall of the Chicago Bears. So they go for it on 4th and inches, and the game might have been in the balance there, although we do have a lot of time remaining, just the start of things in the 4th.
Well, the biggest thing is if you look at the push that this offensive line is able to get, and Jim Miller, all he has to do is follow in behind that to pick up the first down. And you talk about really still somewhat of a strange call in the fact that they went for it, considering the conservative nature of both Dick Duron and John Shoup, the offensive coordinator.
Anthony Thomas back in at running back, and he charges up the middle, but he is tackled. And the Redskins again with staunch defense. Robert Jones once again is playing a big game at middle linebacker for the injured Kevin Mitchell, moving over from the weak side.
And Robert Jones actually has his football team from his old high school here watching the game as a Christmas present. He sent tickets back to the whole football team, and they're here watching him. He said he was going to get an interception. He was trying to find out exactly where the seats were so he could throw the football up to him. As of yet, he hasn't gotten it.
Well, when you bring your team to a football game to watch you play, you better play well.
2nd and 9, Marty Booker turning the corner, and Booker is tackled about a yard short of the first down, but he gets into Redskin territory. That was Marco Coleman on the play.
This is that quick wide receiver screen, but one of the telltale things, this is the fullback and the tight end, Fred Baxter and Damon Shelton on the outside. You got to know something's up when your fullback and your tight end are split out wide.
3rd down and about a yard. Leon Johnson stays in the game. Marty Booker, 6 catches for 58 yards, lines up left. And here is Leon Johnson, first down. Bruce Smith makes the seal on him at the 45, but Leon Johnson picks up the yardage, and so the Bears slowly, like a turtle, getting the first down to the 45 of Washington.
Well, that's a play that they ran last week a couple of different times against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and had tremendous success with it. It's a little bit of a counter play in which they get Anthony Thomas started out to the right, and they get the lineman pulling, and then him coming back traversing field, and they were able to get just enough yards there to pick up the first down.
1st and 10 at the 46 of the Redskins. Anthony Thomas, handoff left side. Thomas with his best run of the day. Anthony Thomas picking up nearly 9 yards before Sam Shade, the strong safety, tackles him.
Yeah, and he carried Sam Shade for about 5 of those yards. And you take a look, and Anthony Thomas, once he gets running downhill right there, that's when he is most effective. He's not a guy who is real good getting outside and trying to use speed, but when he gets his momentum and everything running downhill, he's a tough man to bring down, as Sam Shade just found out.
40 yards for Thomas, who gained 173 a week ago. 2nd down and 3. Here is Anthony Thomas again. Bounces off the defender. Charges for the first down. And Anthony Thomas playing as if this were the first quarter. Terrell making the tackle, a gain of 8.
Well, that's the impressive thing about both Anthony Thomas and Stephen Davis. Big, powerful running backs, but they have good vision and good quick feet, and they're watching right there. I mean, that's a no-gain play. He notices that everything's clogged up on the inside. He bounces that back outside and makes a positive play. Both of these running backs today, very good. You've got to make sure they are on the ground.
And I think another characteristic that's common between the two of them is that they both seem to get better as the game goes along. They seem to get stronger as runners.
And the linemen tend to wear down the defense as well. 1st and 10. Here's Anthony Thomas. And Thomas carries to the 28-yard line. Gain of 4. And right now, Thomas has been the workhorse for the Bears, keeping the ball on the ground, chewing up the clock with 10.5 to go in the 4th, and down by 3.
And you saw him grab his helmet right there. He knows he had a big run, but he got tripped up as he came through the pile, just stumbled on somebody's leg down on the ground. And unfortunately for Anthony, there was a nice lane right there, and he knew that he missed an opportunity for a big play.
2nd down and 6. Jim Miller with a fake and trying to go up the middle, and LeVar Arrington was all over Anthony Thomas, who was the intended receiver. Good coverage by Arrington.
Well, you're going to see Anthony Thomas. He's right here in the backfield, and he's the guy who Jim Miller is going to be trying to get the ball to. He comes over and hooks down, and LeVar Arrington just sitting right on top of him. And Anthony Thomas really doesn't do anything on that route to try to give himself any separation. It didn't look like he was expecting the ball to be thrown to him quite as early as what it was.
And that's one of the things that he's going to have to get better at. He's only a rookie this year, is running routes in man-to-man situations against the linebackers underneath.
Third down and 6 at the 27. And Miller's pass, and it is incomplete. They had Terrell in the neighborhood. And that time the Redskins put some terrific pressure on Jim Miller, bringing up 4th down.
Yeah, pressure's an understatement on what he got on this play. And you'll notice Jim Miller doesn't get a lot of depth on his drops, and as a result, it keeps him closer to the line of scrimmage. Then on the other end of it, you got Terrell trying to run the seam route up inside, and Jim just did not have the time to wait for him and try to get the football in his hands.
So Paul Edinger will look to tie it up. A 46-yard field goal attempt by Edinger. Manley is the long snapper, and they fake it. And it's Maynard, the holder, and he fires the pass, and it's caught for the touchdown. David Grant, Erlacher, Brian Erlacher on the reception.
There's been a lot of talk about putting Brian Erlacher in at tight end on the offense. Who would have thought that he would be coming in there on the field goal team to get the ball thrown to him, and they got the officials huddling to discuss the play.
I hope he reported as eligible.
Number 54 has legally reported to an eligible position. Touchdown.
Good job, Brian.
Brian Erlacher. They talked about him, you're right, on offense.
Here's Brian Erlacher right here. You'll see him take off going in motion. I thought they were going to run the option play with the holder and the kicker. That pulls everybody up, and Brian Erlacher gets behind the coverage.
Yeah, Brian Erlacher, a guy with great speed for as big as he is. He actually was a safety in college. That tells you how quick he can move. And he's been wanting to get an opportunity to use his athleticism to catch the football, and he got his opportunity right there.
That may be his answer to Tony Banks for all their talk during the week. Paul Edinger with the extra point is good, and the Bears lead 17-13. Who said the Bears are conservative? 4th and 1 in their own territory, and then a fancy play to Erlacher on a fake field goal.
Fox NFL Sunday is brought to you by Energizer. Do you have the bunny inside? By Norelco for an unexpectedly close shave guarantee. Put it to the test. By Lord of the Rings, now playing rated PG-13. And by 989 Sports, only on PlayStation and PlayStation 2.
Some disappointed sad hogs here at FedEx Field as the Bears have taken a 17-13 lead, and for Brian Erlacher, that is his 2nd touchdown of the year. His first score was a 90-yard fumble recovery and return against the Falcons, and this time on the receiving end of a Brad Maynard pass on the fake field goal. Michael Bates returning the kickoff, runs into a wall and bounces off. Here's Michael Bates, and a good return, ultimately close to the 35-yard line. But Brian Erlacher, a touchdown reception. That's how you do it. Now Brian Erlacher goes back to his day job as a linebacker after catching the touchdown pass to give the Bears the lead. So the Bears showing pretty good imagination offensively on that series, and they used up a lot of time. See what the Redskins do to try to answer Tony Banks' first pass. Incomplete. Gardner was the intended receiver, and well covered by McQuarter.
Well, Brian Erlacher's here. As he comes across, these two guys will adjust, knowing that there's a fake on. But watch Brad Maynard and Paul Edinger threaten them with the option. That's what allows Brian Erlacher to get by him. You see right here, they step up to cover the option, and nobody goes with Brian Erlacher. So that's a great design fake by the Chicago Bears special teams. And we talked about somebody stepping up and making a play. We thought it might be the defense. It was a guy from the defense, but it was on special teams.
2nd down and 10 on the 34. Banks calling the audible at the line. Looking for the slant. Now just looking. And Tony Banks throws the ball out of bounds. Actually, at college, Brian Erlacher had 6 touchdown receptions, so this was old hat to him.
Well, he's definitely used to being around the football. I mentioned earlier that he was a safety in college, and he played linebacker his freshman and sophomore seasons, and then they moved him to safety, and he did not play linebacker again until he came here to Chicago, and that just kind of tells you what kind of athleticism he has. He was able to bulk up a little bit, and he has been absolutely tremendous. Obviously, NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year last year and having another great season this season.
3rd down and 10 with under 10 minutes to go in this 4th quarter, and the pass, and what a shot that Erlacher gave to Kevin Lockett on the safety blitz.
Well, you see the pressure coming right up the middle. They're doing some more twists. There's Mike Green on the outside trying to get it up. And then as the route comes across, Brian Erlacher just letting Kevin Lockett know that he was there to make a play, even if he would have caught that ball.
4th down, Brian Barker will punt it away, and Leon Johnson is deep. Terrific kick, and Johnson makes the catch and goes down immediately. Kato Serwanga making the special teams play. And when we come back, the Bears with the ball and a 4-point lead. Bears in front 17-13, and their offense woke up on that last drive after the previous 5 were just stalled. Chicago looking to extend their record to 11-3 for the first time since 1988. Their last division championship came 2 years later. 1st down on the 23 of Chicago. And in play action for Jim Miller. And Miller going to Marty Booker. 1st down and wrestled out of bounds by Champ Bailey. Good for 16.
That's just an outstanding job by Marty Booker working against Champ Bailey. Here you can see what he does is he's able to get Champ Bailey running up the field. You see Champ turn and look there for the ball. And while he's doing that, Marty Booker is turning and going down the sidelines. And Jim Miller shows good. Oh, well, here's the hands here. Everybody talks about how big Marty Booker's hands are, and so I went out there. My hands are pretty big myself, and we went out and measured. They were a full digit bigger than what mine were, and it's not surprising that he's able to catch the ball the way he's able to with hands like that.
1st down, Anthony Thomas, and they used to call you Big Hands Aikman before Marty Booker came along.
Actually, it was big ears, but close enough.
No jumbo ears?
Yeah.
Here's another look.
Yeah, but obviously the one thing missing from Marty Booker's hands has to be that ring.
Yeah, he doesn't have that right there.
Troy just wears one. He's got the other 2 somewhere stocked away, as you do, Moose. Well, all teams want to get to that point, and that's why this part of the season is so exciting. The Bears in the playoffs. Even if they win today, they won't win the division, but they'll take a step closer. And they're up with 8:10 remaining in the 4th. 2nd down and 10. On the 39, and the pitch going to Anthony Thomas. Thomas is tackled by Antonio Pierce. A pickup of 3.
Antonio has done a really nice job, and it's a situation where he's come in. He was going to get an opportunity to play because Chicago really felt they matched up well in the running game in their 3 wide receiver package, and that's when Antonio Pierce gets a lot of his playing time. But he's also starting on the weak side since Robert Jones moved in, and he really has demonstrated what Marty Schottenheimer told us about, that he's one of the most intelligent young players he's ever been with.
3rd down and 6. And the screen pass fizzles, incomplete thanks to LeVar Arrington. He broke the whole thing up. 4th down.
I'll tell you what, we've been spending a lot of time talking about Brian Erlacher and the job that he does. Here's another linebacker who was drafted in last year's class, and he comes up the field, and it's because of him that this play does not work. He completely throws the timing off, forces Jim Miller to get rid of the football much sooner than what Anthony Thomas is ready to catch it, and that was a great play by LeVar Arrington.
Brad Maynard and Eric Metcalf signals for the fair catch at the 17-yard line. 7:11 remaining in the 4th. Redskins ball.
Well, this is an opportunity here for Tony Banks to really earn his stripes, and so many times a quarterback, when you get put in this position, you got to be able to perform. And you take a look at what he's done passing by distance, and he too, a lot like Jim Miller, has been throwing a lot of passes under 10 yards, and in this drive he has got to be able to get the ball up the field more effectively.
Trying to pass on play action on 1st down, and Banks goes down. Keith Traylor with the 5th sack by the Chicago Bears defense today.
Well, you're not able to get the ball down the field when you don't have time to throw, and a big reason for that is because of the coverage here. He's trying to go to Gardner, but as you see, R.W. McQuarters, 21, playing underneath him, and then you take a look at Michael Westbrook, the same coverage there with a safety coming over, and Keith Traylor getting up the field, and Tony Banks just didn't have any time to hang and try to get underneath to his checkdowns. And another great job by Keith Traylor putting pressure on him.
Loss of 7, and on the slant, good catch made by Michael Westbrook, and a pickup of about 6. Right now, for a game break, let's check in with James Brown in L.A. JB.
Hey, Dick. Rams trying to get a little more distance from the Panthers. Take a look at Kurt Warner hooking up. Nice haul in by Ernie Conwell. That a 4-yard toss. It is now 38-23. St. Louis on top of Carolina. Back to Dick, Troy, and Daryl.
Boy, and Carolina playing them tough, and there's no margin for error with the Rams, the way that the San Francisco 49ers have been playing also.
Rams undefeated at home. 3rd down and 7 at the 22, and Banks goes down again. Mike Green coming up from his free safety position as the nickel back, making the stop. So the Bears have gotten to Tony Banks 6 times. And you talked about how this is a crucial drive for Tony Banks. No time.
We can see Tony Banks right there. He's going to the audible. Guys pulling out. Now he's in trouble. He's called a short play, and here comes the pressure. And that's just Mike Green beating the block. You see right there, Kajana Carter was there to pick him up, but Mike Green just fights through that and makes the sack.
Here's Leon Johnson, and he'll let the ball bounce. He picks it up, and Leon Johnson straight ahead. I'm not sure whether that ball hit a Bear player and that Johnson was forced to pick it up on the bounce, but he did, and he got a lot of mileage out of it, returning it 20 yards into Redskin territory, and it might have deflected off of Mike Green, forcing Johnson to field it.
Well, better to be safe than sorry in that situation, and I think you're right, Dick. He sees the ball. He's trying to get Mike Green to get away, and it lands so close to him that I think just to err on the side of caution, he decides to pick it up. And that's one of those plays on the sideline where you're like, no, 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 and then all of a sudden it turns into something positive.
Yeah, I don't think he could tell whether or not it hit Mike Green or not. So as Moose said, he had a chance to pick it up. He took it and ran with it and was able to get good yards.
Well, Mike Green can smile because Leon Johnson was there to bail him out just in case. Bears with a 1st and 10 on the Redskin 41. Anthony Thomas up the middle. Anthony Thomas getting stronger as this game goes on. Has a 1st down, stays in bounds, and the clock continues to run. Champ Bailey and Keith Lyle on the play, and the Bears right now may be wearing out the Redskin defense.
Well, this is the same play that they ran earlier. You follow Damon Shelton. He's going to lead the way. They start like they're going to toss it to the right and run to the right. But Anthony Thomas plants, comes back left, and is able to get up inside, follow his blockers. A nice job by Damon Shelton leading the way for him.
And he also made Antonio Pierce miss in the hole, and that's what you have to do. You're not going to get everybody blocked up on every play. And a back like Anthony Thomas has the ability to make a guy miss in the hole.
Anthony Thomas, the 2 halves of him today. It'll be 1st down at the 25, and they'll go to Thomas again. He has a bit of an opening and bulls his way down to the 20-yard line. Now, when the Bears took the lead with their go-ahead touchdown, they used up 7 minutes of the clock on a 15-play drive. And now they're punishing the Redskins again using the clock as we wind down close to 4.5 to play in regulation.
Well, and there's no question. You get in this situation with the Bears, and they're gonna hammer you with the running game. That's the 2nd time Sam Shade, the safety for the Redskins, has gone for a ride on the back of Anthony Thomas. And, you know, he's trying to get up there and fill the hole. But as we've talked about, Anthony Thomas is just a difficult guy to bring down when he's going north and south.
2nd and 5, the pitch to Thomas. And Thomas is brought down at the 18 by Marco Coleman. As we get close to 4 minutes remaining, the Bears in the playoffs for the 1st time since 1994 as Valerio and Coleman exchange greetings momentarily. Big Cat comes in for a word as well. Well, what a change in this quarter. The quarter that counts. The Bears have a big edge in the time of possession. 3rd down and 4. Miller tosses And the pass intended for John Davis, the second tight end. And Jim Miller took a shot and was shaken up. And he's helped up by Marco Coleman after the hit.
And again, it's a running back blocking on the end of the line, and you'll see Anthony Thomas. He goes low on Marco Coleman, and oh boy, you see right there. And now Jim Miller's injury that he was coming off of was an Achilles tendon injury, and that was a very awkward position for him to get trapped in.
Paul Ettinger with a 37-yard field goal attempt. He's 1 for 1, and then the fake for the touchdown. And here is Ettinger's kick. And the kick is good. Ettinger's 37-yarder giving the Bears a 20-13 lead. And you're right, Moose, about Jim Miller, because he feels his biggest accomplishment was coming back after that Achilles injury. He was out all of last year, and then the hamstring problem in camp.
And Anthony Thomas just goes too low. These guys are too athletic, and you'll see, I mean, it's just such an awkward way that he lands. Both of his legs together, they both land with his legs perfectly straight. The other thing he battled in training camp was a hamstring injury. So you've got two of the injuries that he's recently come off of that could have been aggravated on that play, and he's shaking his head saying, I'm okay. Yep. That's good news for the Bears.
Well, the last thing you want to have is to lose your starting quarterback this late in the season when they are in the playoffs and going into the, trying to establish a first-round bye and all the things that go with that. And Jim Miller, as we've said, he has been overcome. He's overcome injuries with the Achilles tendon a year ago, the hamstring, as you mentioned. This has been the most healthy that he has been in his career in a season. He's been able to play this year, and he's had a few little nagging things, but he has remained on the field and has fought through it, and you just hope that he's okay now.
Well, the Redskins will get the ball back with 3:23 to go, needing a touchdown and an extra point to tie. And with Tampa Bay destroying New Orleans today, a Redskin loss will eliminate them from wild card consideration. Return by Brian Johnson of the Redskins, and Johnson out to the 37-yard line.
Well, Brian Erlacher coming back onto the field, the defensive star of this Bears football team. And one of the reasons you can't run outside is the speed that he has inside out. And we all expect him to make plays on the defensive side of the ball. But today, he actually gets into the end zone on a little bit of trickery on a fake field goal.
Well, who would have figured that Brad Maynard would throw more touchdown passes than any of the starting quarterbacks today? The punter. 1st and 10 at the 36. Out of the shotgun, Tony Banks. Redskins need a touchdown, and the pass up the middle and just missing. Carter was Banks. No one near him.
If you take a look at what the Bears are doing defensively, you're going to see all these guys running down the field. They're trying to not let anybody get down the middle of the field. What that does is create a huge void right in here, and all you've got to do is get the ball to them and catch it, and you're going to run for a long way, and they weren't able to do it.
Banks has won for his last 7. He's lost a fumble, has been sacked 6 times, hurried more, and hit more. 2nd down and 10. Tony Banks pass caught by Rod Gardner, and it'll be a Redskin first down at the 47. Under 3 minutes remaining in the 4th, and this is where the Redskins need Banks, whose future is uncertain. The Redskins not sure, and Banks not sure whether he will be here next year. First down, pressure again. And the throw, and it's a good thing Banks could just get rid of it.
Yeah, Jerry Azuma coming off the corner with pressure untouched. And I'm not sure. We've seen some
in the process of throwing the ball, no intentional grounding.
We've seen some pressure there. You see Jerry Azuma, 23, come in and put a hit on him. Tony's still able to get rid of the football and not get sacked. But you see, and there's Greg Blosch, the defensive coordinator, who is the architect behind this defense. But Tony Banks, there has been pressure that has come off the corner today by the Bears, and I don't know that he's seeing it. He doesn't act like there's any sense of urgency when they're bringing the blitz, and you've got to get rid of the football.
2nd and 10 at the 47 for the Redskins. Out of the shotgun again is Banks, and Banks has Gardner. First down. And the clock stops with 2:34. He beat R.W. McQuarters for a pickup of 17.
What a great job by Corey Raymer, your center right here. Watch this. He's going to block two guys. He's got the inside guy, and then he comes off. He walks back to the quarterback with a guy in each arm.
And then you got Gardner up top working against R.W. McQuarters, and not a great route, but he's able to at least get R.W. McQuarters' hips turned, and once he had his hips turned to where he was facing the field, that allowed Gardner to get out on the sideline.
Gardner with 5 receptions for 54 yards, and the Redskins with a first down on the Bear 36. Quick pass, and it's caught. Flemister. And Flemister with another first down to the 25-yard line, a pickup of 11, and the Redskins in the hurry-up.
Well, and Zeron Flemister gets inside on that. Warwick Coleman cannot allow a receiver to get inside, and yet that's exactly what he did, and that's why they picked up the gain there.
And Banks again operating, and it's tipped. Incomplete again, trying to get it to Flemister, and Mike Green was defending in the crowd, yelling for a pass interference call against Green.
Yeah, and on that one there, Mike Green did not let him get inside. You watch, Green's going to jump inside and not let Flemister get in there. And actually, if Flemister had stayed on the move and had kept running, he would have gotten some separation. That looked like a busted route from Zeron Flemister, stopping against man-to-man coverage. When you have man, you've got to stay on the move. Zones when you sit down in the holes.
2nd and 10, 2:07 remaining in the fourth quarter, and the handoff to Kajana Carter, and a good play by the Redskins as Carter getting to the 17-yard line. Colvin and Erlacher making the tackle. 2-minute warning. The Redskins are at field goal range, but they need a touchdown as Erlacher drives to make the play. We'll be right back. 2 minutes remaining in the fourth quarter. The Bears leading 20-13. A Bears victory will move them closer to a division title. Washington has all 3 timeouts left. If the Redskins lose, they will be eliminated from playoff contention with Tampa Bay all over the New Orleans Saints today. 3rd down and 3 at the 18-yard line. This is 2-down territory for the Redskins under the circumstances. And the pass is dropped. Flemister defended by Green, and now a flag comes down.
Well, this one could have gone either way because Zeron Flemister really pushes off against Mike Green initially, and then Mike Green comes back. So this is just a question of when the official was watching the play. You'll see him push upfield, and he just shoves off Mike Green a little bit.
Number 43, Chicago, was holding the receiver while the ball was in the air, which by rule is pass interference. The ball is placed at the spot of the foul, first down.
And that is the first penalty committed by the Chicago Bears today.
That's just tough duty, though, when you got Mike Green working against a big guy, big tight end, Zeron Flemister, and, being outweighed like that, you have to get physical with him, and it's a tough call.
1st and 10 at the 12-yard line. The Redskins trailing by 7 with under 2 minutes to go. Pass caught by Gardner, and Gardner getting inside the 5-yard line. Gardner beating Mike Brown, and another penalty marker down at about the 5. And this will be another penalty against the Bears. Defensive holding.
Well, here's Gardner working up the field, and he gets R.W. McQuarters running, but R.W. has to be able to make that tackle right there. When you're in 2-man, there is no help back down the field, and you've got to be able to tackle the guy in open space like this. By him missing this tackle, it allows Rod Gardner to get up the field and almost get into the end zone.
Good hustle by Phillip Daniels coming back on the play after pressuring the quarterback.
Holding Chicago, number 53, before the pass was thrown. The penalty is declined. Brings up 2nd down.
2nd down. The ball is at the 4-yard line. 2nd down and 1. Redskins have not used any of their timeouts on this drive.
Well, this is an area that they have struggled in the past weeks.
2nd and 1, and here's Stephen Davis, and he won't get it as he's hit by Brian Erlacher and knocked back. A loss of maybe a yard to the 5.
And we've talked about a lot of teams struggling in the red zone this year, and one of the reasons that we have seen is the inability to run the ball, and that's the same case that Washington's facing right now.
Redskins use their first timeout. Back here at FedEx Field, Tony Banks coming back into the huddle with 1:33 remaining in the 4th. The Redskins with 2 timeouts left, trailing by 7. It'll be 3rd down and a yard.
Yeah, and they've got 2 downs to pick up the first down here.
Redskins trying to stay alive in the playoff wars. Tampa Bay beating the New Orleans Saints right now. That game is not over. 3rd and 1. Gardner going in motion. And a fake to Davis. Here's Banks. Incomplete. And he was intended to go to Walter Rasby as tight end, but Tony Parrish was covering on the play, so it's 4th and 1, and here's that other down, Troy, that the Redskins have.
Yeah, because a field goal will not help them. So even at 3rd and 1, they're going to get 2 downs. And knowing that, it's a little surprising to me that they just didn't run it right up the middle. Again, on that pass play there, off of the play action in the boot, even if Walter Rasby catches that pass, he does not get the first down. He was at the line of scrimmage when they were throwing it to him.
So it is 4th down and 1 from the 3-yard line. The Redskins need a touchdown or a first down on this play. And rolling out is Banks. Banks' throw, incomplete. Incomplete, no flags are down, and the Chicago Bears will take over on downs. Rod Gardner was the intended receiver, and Mike Brown covering on the play. So the Redskins had their chances and now turn it over on downs to Chicago.
And here's another look at Rod Gardner working up and over the middle and just trying to move and make a play. He gets his hands on it. It would have been a heck of a catch if he's able to make that, but I'm just surprised when you're in 2-down territory, 3rd and 1, and you can pick up a first down without having to score. It surprises me that with a team, particularly the Washington Redskins, that pride themselves on running the football behind a good offensive line and a big back like Stephen Davis, and they throw it on both 3rd and 4th downs.
And we saw a similar scenario last week in the Philadelphia game, where when they got down into the red zone at critical times, they elected to throw the ball. And these are teams that say they're going to stick with what works for them and play in a certain way, and they really went against what they believe in right there.
Well, the Redskins will use their 2 more timeouts here. The ball is on the 4-yard line, and the handoff to Anthony Thomas. And the Redskins call a timeout. They have 1 left with 1:19, but they've got to get the ball back. And the look on the face of the Redskins on the bench tells all, as the Redskins with a golden opportunity to get the touchdown and perhaps the extra point to tie, and those 2 deserve a lot of credit, don't they?
Boy, they certainly do. That whole Chicago defense deserves a lot of credit, but in particularly Keith Traylor and Ted Washington, they really played well and did a lot of things that people don't know that they're capable of doing, showing some quickness, pursuing things down the line of scrimmage, making tackles, putting pressure on the quarterback. Just an all-around great performance by those 2 players.
Now, that was only the 2nd goal line stand that the Bears had all year. 2nd down and 7, and nothing up the middle for Thomas, and the Redskins will use their final timeout, stopping the clock with 1:13 on the clock. It has been a classic, tough, grueling game today between these teams. Just a Christmassy kind of holiday, hard-nosed, brutal game between the Bears and the Redskins with so much at stake today. And here in Washington, the Chicago Bears stopping the Redskins on a goal line stand, taking over on downs, leading by 7 with 1:13 to go. It has been a seesaw game all the way, and the go-ahead touchdown was on a fake field goal with Brian Erlacher catching the touchdown pass. Here is Anthony Thomas driving for 1 yard, and the Bears, if they hold on, guys, this would be a textbook win for them.
Well, yeah, there's no question about that. They've won them. You know, all their games have been close ball games, and that's the way they like it. They are not intimidated coming into these fourth quarters and winning the close games. As you can see, 7-0 in games decided by 7 points or less.
Headed for 8-0.
Headed to 8-0, and they, again, we talked about the St. Louis Rams and what they've got to do. You know, they have to keep winning as well because they got the Packers right on their heels.
So the Washington Redskins headed for elimination from the playoff berth because the loss here and the victory by Tampa Bay, and they are trouncing New Orleans today, will eliminate the Redskins, and the Bears will go to 11-3 for the first time since 1988. This was the highlight. Turnovers early. Fumbled by Denson on the opening kickoff, and then Tony Banks coughed it up. And the Bears took advantage. Davis with a touchdown. Redskins led. Leon Johnson with a 32-yard run, and the Bears led. And then the fake field goal, Brad Maynard finding Brian Erlacher for the touchdown, 27 yards, as the Bears took the lead and have kept it for Dick Duran. And for Dick Duran, the Bears headed for 11-3.
11-3, and still no word from Jerry Angelo as to whether or not he's going to be back next year as their head coach. I find that to be a little surprising.
Well, right now you're looking at Bill Belichick with the New England Patriots and Dick Duran as the leading candidates for Coach of the Year. And when one of them doesn't even know if he's coming back, it's the one dilemma that still exists in Chicago.
Brad Maynard will punt from the end zone, and he's going to take the safety. Brad Maynard will take the safety and go out of the end zone. So Maynard smartly goes out, not to risk a kick and a block kick. So it is 20-15 now. The Redskins are going to get the ball on a free kick now with 20 seconds remaining in the game. And here is the safety rule. 2 points go to the defensive team and a free kick from the 20.
Well, smart play there by the Chicago Bears and taking the safety. There's no point in attempting to punt it, have it blocked, or even if you're able to get it off, you give the great field position to the Washington Redskins. So very smart play by the Bears, taking the safety, making it a 5-point game.
And you mentioned Moose Dick Duran. I think that if the Bears go on and do as well as they can, possibly win a division and get a bye in the first week and play at home, it's going to be very hard to remove Dick Duran as head coach of Chicago. And here in Chicago, 20 seconds to go. The Bears punter, Brad Maynard, just took a safety. Dick Duran's Bears will be kicking off with a 5-point lead.
And to follow up on that point about Dick Duran, you know, I think the big thing is how much the players respect him and how much the players love to play for him. And Brian Robinson just signed to a big contract extension, wants to be able to play his career with the Chicago Bears under Dick Duran. So he has got the support of the players. I would imagine he would definitely have the support of the city because of the tough times they've been over the last few seasons.
Here's the free kick. Punting off of the safety is Brad Maynard. Eric Metcalf on the 18-yard line. And the clock running, and here's the fake lateral, and Maynard goes down, and 12 seconds to go, fumbled, and the Chicago Bears have it. The Chicago Bears have it, and it's Mike Green. So the Bears will get it with 12 seconds to go, as all this team does is win. They have lost 3 games this year, once to the Baltimore Ravens in the opener, 2 games against the Green Bay Packers, and they have won here. Here is the fumble by Metcalf.
And he put the ball away. At first, I thought maybe he didn't have the ball secured real well because he was faking the pass with a little bit of trickery there. But when he got into the area of contact, he had the ball tucked away. Just a good hit right on the football by one of the Chicago Bears coverage team.
So the Bears will go 8-0 in games decided by 7 points or less. The good ones win the close ones, Troy.
Well, that's exactly right. That's what you have to do, and you have to be able to win on the road as well if you're going to go very far once you're in the playoffs.
So the Chicago Bears defeat the Washington Redskins by a score of 20-15 and go 11-3 for the first time since 1988. We'll be back in just a moment.